What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Hoops Crew mid-season review. My name is Ben Reeve, and it's, round 16 rounds of the AFL season done and dusted, and we're here on a Monday night to review how Geelong's season has gone so far, but also to cast a look ahead to the next 8 weeks of footy and potentially finals if everything goes well. And see how we go there. So tonight I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Paul James.
Sorry for holding everyone up. Kids don't want to go to bed.
That's fine.
Sorry,
Paul.
chat.
King and overlord of the Chaps Chat Cats, Mr. Jake Botel.
Oh, don't tell them that. It's a bit dangerous.
the hairy John Dog, Mr. Johnny Larkins. How you going?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Still a bit sore after having them teeth yanked, but feeling good.
Very good. I hope you're feeling too well, Jake. Had a case of the man flu in the last couple of days. And the man you know and love, Sambo.
Yeah, man flu was
his Batman collection growing by the day. How you going, Sambo?
Good. Yeah, we got some Batman, we got some Dragon Ball back there. Everything that's, extremely manly and not at all childlike. A display of machismo behind me. I'm good. And speaking just quickly of John's hair, I've got to tell you this, John. After the party, John attended the birthday party for my eldest, and we went through the photos. And in every single photo, it looks like Charles Manson has turned up in the background.
We told him they didn't kill Bin Laden.
Yeah.
You should see my passport photo. It's going to be interesting.
But we can't because it's been complicated.
Paul's done that once this year already, don't worry.
Yeah, don't dox yourself for the love of God.
Hello to everyone else in the chat tonight as well. Roaming Craig, nice and early as always. Jackie, Jared, Mighty Sparlock, Kiri's there. Morris, I think I've seen Mark as well. Amy, and if I've missed anyone, make sure you give me shit in the chat. I'm sure I have missed a couple of people as well. But yes, thanks for joining us. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. We'll have a quick look at the rundown for tonight. I'm going to start the show off with a bit of a season snapshot. Paul's then going to lead us into some major storylines, and Jake will help him a little bit with that as well. And then we'll look at some wins and losses. I think that was Sambo Johnny Sambo. I can't remember which one that was. We'll have a look at the run home. We'll do some predictions on the rest of the year. Some player reviews. If we haven't gone 3 hours on this show already, we'll do some player reviews, and then we'll save a bit of time at the end for some fan questions as well. So drop your questions in the chat. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, and I'm going to mark a couple to come back to later on. So if you've got any questions in the chat, Paul, I hope you've got the Twitter link as well, because we asked some questions on Twitter a few days ago as well. So bring that up a bit later on. All right, so let's have a quick look at the season so far. So Cats are currently sitting fourth on the ladder after Adelaide had a bit of a win, pushed us back down the order, and we did lose to Brisbane too. But now we are sitting fourth, which I kind of like, under the radar a little bit. We're 10-5. Our home record is 5-2, and their away record's 5-3. Percentage is not too bad. It's not like 170% like it was back in the heyday of 2007, but 127% is not too bad. Surprisingly, we've used 30 players. It doesn't feel like it, but 30 players have gone through, which is interesting. Ollie Dempsey, the only debutant so far this year. And Dempsey, who? Sorry? And
Ollie Wiltshire.
Ollie Wiltshire. Oh, geez. This is the first step. Let's say this isn't a show. I usually put graphics together. There's always a mistake. So there's the first one. Ollie Dempsey is not a debutant. And 86,000 members. There you go. Well done, Paul. Pick that up nice and early. I'm sure there'll be more. You get a free pizza if you pick more than 3 mistakes.
Oh.
Do they have to be correct? Like, can we just throw mistakes out? Or?
Oh, yeah. Just come up with mistakes. That's fine. And roaming. And yes, roaming, we will hear my thoughts on the middling performance of the Geelong Football Club a bit later on. All right, Paul, let's take us away with some major storylines so far this year.
Yeah, so we've compiled a few here. And I guess the number one, I think, that's been on the minds of most Geelong fans over the course of the year has been the success of the Dash brothers, Bailey Smith and Max Holmes, and how they've been kind of dominating the midfield space at the moment. I did, in fact, see, I think it was Jay Clark. He's now the head of the Herald Sun sports team or AFL team these days. He actually, he's gone and built his top 50, the old Mark Robinson style top 50. And he's actually got in 7, 6, and 5 positions. He's got Jeremy Cameron and then the Dash brothers, Max Holmes being rated the top of the lot there. There's a lot of people, for good reason, starting to really pay close attention to what Max has been doing. A lot of the spotlight's been shone upon Bailey Smith so far, but he's absolutely crushing it as well. This pair are really lighting it up for the Cats at the moment. And as long as Max Holmes' hamstring stays intact through a prelim final, then I reckon we've got every chance of getting there again this year.
Beautiful. And Patrick Dangerfield, forward line, king,
yeah.
Godra, or what is he calling himself?
No, he's been referring to himself as Tony Modra, but the problem is that the young blokes on the team have no idea who that is. So, Danger's lighting up in the forward 50. I've discussed it a little bit over the course of the Paul James show this year that I've had, and through some of my review videos, that I've had some little concerns about what his influence has had over the forward line dynamic and the impacts on some of the other players around. But you can't deny his impact specifically. He's throwing his body around left, right, and center. He's been dominating at the coalface. I guess the forward line coalface, I should say. Collecting a lot of ball, kicking some great goals. It seems like he's put a lot of time and effort into his goal kicking. It's a shame it's taken as many years as it has, but he's really doing an excellent job in the forward line at the moment. So it's been great to see. And
it's probably caused a few issues for some, which I know you've touched on your show as well.
Yeah, I've run out of patience now for Ollie Henry. I can't keep giving him, what are we, 15 rounds in? I can't keep giving him an out and saying, it's Danger's fault.
No, it's not Danger's fault, but they've got plenty of time to figure it out still. A potential another rising star, possibly.
No, take it to the bank. Connor O'Sullivan is the rising star this year. No, he's been lighting up from really early on in the piece. Obviously, the round 2 recipient. And look, there's some pretty stiff competition around him, and I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But he's had a great season. Really stepped into that intercepting defender role very nicely. Honestly, I don't know how we keep doing it. This time it's O'Sullivan, but you can talk about Dempsey, you can talk about so many others that come through, and they are just ready to go from the moment they step in. It's a real credit to, I guess, the club's development pipeline and the way that they're really upskilling their players and helping them to understand the system, so that the moment they step in, they have a pretty immediate impact. And Connor O'Sullivan's done that. He's had a great season this year. So it's hard to see a scenario where he's out come finals, which is a great thing for depth, because, I mean, maybe there's a chance that he is an out for the finals, but if someone like him is being left out, it says great things for our chances later in the year.
Koladashny.
Give him the rising star.
Give him the rising star. Kay's not looking good with all these injuries this year, but I'll tell you who is looking good, Paul. Tom Atkins. What a start.
Axe.
He's on record pace, Tom.
The Axe, get around him. What's he got? 141 tackles for the year so far. He's certainly averaging 9.4. He's absolutely crushing it. And 141 blokes on the football field this year as well. His tackle pressure has been enormous. But also, I mean, obviously the highlight is the tackling numbers, and he's on track for breaking all sorts of records there. But even then, just setting that aside, he's accumulating the ball. He's been disposing it really well. He's been, I mean, I guess we've never questioned this, but he's always been the one to stand up when the chips are down. He's been fantastic all season. He's leading from the front, and the defensive pressure has been enormous. And it's been necessary, given, you think about your Bailey Smiths and your Max Holmes, who definitely like to sneak forward when they can, push forward and try and I guess deliver that ball inside 50. You need someone who's rock solid behind the ball that's going to try and lock it down. He's done a fantastic job in that space.
And his mustache is looking absolutely perfection at the moment. The AFL wasn't too pleased with the Geelong Football Club's third-party payments, Paul. Try and get that
God
out.
forbid that someone in the VFLW gets a car. Fuck me. Anyway, apparently, I mean, Caroline Wilson led the charge here on the agenda setters a while ago. She set an agenda, and it's about time she hit the mark with one of them. Cotton On, Morris Finance, the car that was supposedly given away to one of our AFLW players. There's been a few things that I guess caught the attention of the AFL, and so they launched one of their audits that are technically scheduled. So, of course, the internet really got significantly carried away and you want to accuse us of cheating once again. Got that wrong. But I don't know. We're still kind of awaiting a final result from this. So we'll see how it all develops over the course of the season. But I don't think there's a huge amount to be seen here. No word from the AFL as far as I'm concerned.
And I don't imagine we'll hear from Caroline Wilson again either on this matter when Geelong gets slapped with a $500 fine?
No.
Possibly
I
not.
know we will.
Jake, take us away with the next one. This is a very recent one, Jake. Brian Myers copping some Bronx cheers.
Copping the Bronxies. Round 15 against Brisbane. Didn't play terrifically, did Brian Myers. 5 turnovers on 15 touches. But yeah, there was a moment where there was a section of the Geelong crowd that gave him a Bronx cheer when he finally hit the target in the second quarter. Our good mate Kane Kross, beloved figure here on the Hoops Crew channel. We've all got a picture of Kane Kross above our mantelpiece. So yeah, it drew some criticism from him. He called it completely ridiculous and labelled Geelong fans the most spoilt group of supporters in the competition. And I, would have to disagree with him if I disagreed with him. But there are a bunch of fucking idiots who are really spoiled in the Geelong fan base. And unfortunately, I don't think he's far from the mark. I think if and when the audits become too heavy and they finally bring down the battleship, and we suck again, I think we're going to see an alarming drop off of Geelong fans. I just think there's too many people who either have grown up not knowing what it's like to suck, or they've been good so long they've forgotten what it's like to suck. I mean, look at the history. We're in finals basically every year. We're in prelims more years than we're not. People have just forgotten what it's like to actually suffer. You look at a club like West Coast, who have won about 6 games in the last 7 years. We have no idea what it's like to suffer in a football sense anymore. So unfortunately, Kane Kross hit the mark on this one. And yeah, fucking pull your head in, supporters. So I know we let swear on the live stream because I'm letting loose here.
I've already done it. You're fine. Go for broke.
Okay. Well,
you haven't done enough of these, mate.
This one annoyed me. This annoyed me. That one. Grind's an amazing player. Injury, transparency, and laid outs. I mean, this is the season of nitpicking the Geelong Football Club, is it not? The Cats under fire for a perceived lack of transparency around player injuries and frequent last-minute team changes. The club has regularly listed players as TBC or indefinite in weekly updates. Terms the AFL has reportedly asked clubs to use more sparingly. Also, as we've said, a string of late outs on game day, often involving key players being withdrawn hours before the bounce. This has caused supporters to accuse the club of withholding information and gaming the system. Please game the system is my request. As a Geelong fan, why on God's green earth would I not want us to use every possible avenue to win games of football? If we can game the system using the medical chart, this all boils down to, I've got my grumpy pants on tonight. If this all boils down to people who are putting money on games of football and betting companies getting in their feelings, getting in their fifis, as Sam would say, about, we don't have enough information. We don't know if Tom Stewart's playing. I do not give a shit about your 14-leg multi. I give a shit about Geelong winning more games of footy. And if we can do a little bit of espionage and leave a late out as late as possible, please continue. The whiteout.
Yes, the whiteout.
Lights up Cardinia Park. Yeah. Penn State arrived for their regularly scheduled whiteout down at Cardinia Park. This was to honour Patrick Dangerfield's 350th. The club handed out 40,000 White Cats-themed T-shirts. That'd be a good money laundering scheme, wouldn't it? Turning the stadium into a striking sea of white. However, not everyone was impressed. Some opposition fans took to social media, joking Geelong were waving the white flag. Low-hanging fruit, you fuckwits. Late in the game, the banter added a humorous twist to an otherwise emotional and visually stunning tribute to Dangerfield's milestone. I'll keep my thoughts on this one quick. Australian culture doesn't vibe with American rah-rah. I love the look of it, but the idea of getting 40,000 Aussies to join in and wave pom-poms and stuff, good luck. Better luck getting blood out of a stone. Geelong's war chest signals big ambitions. wait for the off-season storylines on this shit. Geelong has quietly built a significant salary cap war chest, positioning itself to make major moves in upcoming trade periods. CEO Steve Hawkins, having dismantled Richmond's dynasty by introducing the 666 rule, confirmed the club has room for 2 more stars, and coach Chris Scott hinted at bold intentions. As long as it's not, what was it? What they accused Max Holmes of? A despicable act. We've got bold intentions, saying we think big initially. Financial flexibility has fueled speculation about potential pursuits of Harley Reid, Zach Butters, Matt Rowell, etc. This is great. This is great news for the Cats. They are clever how they manage their money. And I think for anyone who follows any amount of sport from around the world that involves salary caps, you understand that the money, the way it works, it's split up over different years. You can front load contracts, you can back load contract. There's so much language involved in these things that, again, it's such a tiresome thing from other fans going, oh, they're cheating the salary cap. It's like, learn how it works. Then you can form a valid criticism. All football clubs should be very intelligent how they make use of multi-year deals and contracts. Final one, Tropical Cyclone postponed our season opener against Brisbane. We did get to play that game eventually. Was brought for, what was this? Hey, forecast to bring up 700 millimeters of rain.
Couple of
winds
drops.
exceeding 130 k's an hour to southeast Queensland. Just a little precipitation heading in over the seaboard. The AFL made the call early in the week, prioritised player safety, as they do in all matters, I'm sure. The safety of players, staff, and fans. Postponement disrupted the league's launch plans, left Geelong without a game in the season's first weekend. I'm sure Chris Scott would have had some very interesting thoughts about fixturing, competitiveness, and yada, yada, yada. There you go. There's my contribution. End the show.
That's 16 weeks of footy. There's a lot to cram in there, and another 8 weeks to go plus final.
You did well, lads.
Well done. Well done on that one.
I mean, that story's not done. It's still really interesting to see how, and actually someone at my work brought it up today, it's really interesting to see how they're going to try and arrange that Gold Coast and Essendon rematch. Now, of course, it's not going to mean anything for Essendon. And we all celebrate that fact, especially Ben, who believes very much in the future of the Essendon Football Club. But for Gold Coast, where they've got to play 2 games in, 7 days potentially?
Yeah.
Right now, they're kind of ambiguously slated to play Essendon, and then I've already forgotten who the other team was. It was a non-finals competitor, so it could be Essendon again for all I know.
Port Adelaide.
There we go. They've got to squeeze those 2 games into about 7 or 8 days. It's going to be a really interesting one. We could have a very long round 24 or just a round 23 that 100% just bleeds straight into the beginning of round 24. So,
how funny would it be if Gold Coast had to win their last game, but were absolutely cooked from playing
the
Bombers again a few days after, and then they just lost by a kick or something? That'd be, I don't particularly hate the Gold Coast too much, but I'd be happy that you got the tip wrong, Paul. That was probably the only thing I'd be happy about. So, anyway, but it's been an interesting first 16 weeks of the season, and hopefully another 8 weeks to come will be plenty to talk about, especially a premiership in about 12 weeks' time would be nice. Now, John, I'm handing over to you for. I always do this to you, John. I feel like I do this to you every time. I ask you to cast your mind back 16 weeks. So you've got probably the hardest gig of all. Hopefully some of these games will trigger you in good ways and bad ways, but you've got the best wins and the worst losses so far of 2020. What year are we in? 2025.
2025, yeah. The wins are the easy ones because I remember them. The losses, don't remember the losses. You just push them to the back of your mind pretty quickly. But the first big win was gather round against the Adelaide Crows, which I believe yourself, Ben, and Paul were over there with a few of the other Hoops members and fans, which was pretty exciting to see on the socials and all that. But this was a pretty fun game to watch, really. Like the Crows, it was a tight first quarter. Crows sort of got away in the second quarter a little bit, and then Cats just fought their way right back into it, and to really pretty convincing win, if I remember correctly, at the end of the day. Jeremy Cameron, 4 goals alongside Patrick Dangerfield. I remember Dangerfield really stepping up in this game to bring a big victory, a pretty important victory at the time as well, as we had only 1 win against Fremantle at that time. And then Max Holmes, Bailey Smith played really incredible games as well. Max Holmes had 7 tackles and Bailey Smith had 17 contested possessions with his 35 disposals. So a very competitive game. Good win away from home. Beat the Crows at the home deck in Gather Round. Couldn't be happier. Big stage. And then the Bulldogs at home. This was another really interesting game where tight first quarter, and then the Cats really started to get away in the second and third, and then the Bulldogs just kept hanging in there, just nearly getting in front, but the Cats were just good enough with goals to Shannon Neal, 2 goals to Shannon Neal and Tyson Stengel to really end the Dogs' hopes in this game. Jeremy Cameron monstered this game with 6. This is when he really started to just find that form and, make us go, why did we think dropping him would be a good idea when he can do stuff like this? I remember his game being pretty outrageous. Tom Atkins, 12 tackles as usual. Tom Stewart, 9 marks. That's a big stat. And Bailey Smith and Max Holmes both ending on the night with 33 disposals each. I do remember these two having a bit of fun. Bailey Smith really enjoying the non-attention given to him by the Bulldogs. And I was pretty stressed out about this game, as one of our mates is a Bulldogs fan, and you always want to beat your mate's team, and thankfully the Cats were able to get over the top. And then we come to the important game, the one game that we must win every single year against the despicable team that I won't mention their name. You can all guess who it is.
Scum.
The Scum. This was another interesting, most Cats games have been really tight, really interesting, really good fun, enjoyable watches, and this was no exception. Again, the Cats got away early on in the second quarter, third quarter, just kept that nice buffer. Hawks came back early on. I mentioned the name. Fuck. Sorry. I apologise. And this was a big game by not Shannon Neal, Sean Manor, kicking 3 goals alongside Patrick Dangerfield. Again, Tom Atkins was an absolute monster in this game. He had 16 contested possessions. I also think he had 10, close to 10 center clearances as well. Just one of these games where he was an absolute monster, tackling heaps, getting as I said, all those contested possessions, being an absolute menace to the Scum. And then our last big win, one of the more big wins of the year, was against Collingwood. This was a really not really up and down game, but one where the Cats really got out nice and early-ish in the first quarter, and they came right back into the game, got an early lead in the first at quarter time, and then sort of extended it a little bit, but not by much by half time. And then in the third quarter, they really sort of just got a couple quick early goals, got us a bit nervous, got me a little bit nervous. And then Jeremy Cameron, Ollie Wiltshire, and Sean Manor all kicked goals to really reduce the margin back to a manageable 7 points. And then Oliver Henry got a nice goal to start the fourth quarter to sort of get us rolling. And then Dempsey, Dangerfield. I remember Dangerfield again having a massive game in this to really bring the victory. Again, standing up when it mattered most. And it was a really impressive win. One of 2 losses Collingwood's had this year. So this is a really good little measuring stick for the Cats and a statement to the rest of the competition of what the Cats were capable of this year. The wins were really good. obviously.
I'm trying to remember who else beat Collingwood this year. I can't.
Giants.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Opening round, big win. See the really good wins by Cats there. You can see 19 points over Adelaide, 14 over Bulldogs, 7 over Hawthorn, and 3 over Collingwood. So all pretty close wins. Exciting wins, hard-fought wins that define what the Cats are about, like not giving up when it's getting tough, not putting the head down when oppositions attack us. And then we'll get to the depressing part of the night, the losses. And it's all against teams that we've recently struggled to play against, like Carlton. But who would have thought we would, like Carlton, up and come in as, I think it was, what's his face, that journalist who's always saying really outrageous, stupid things, not Kane Kross.
David King.
No, not David King.
Speaking of outrageous things.
I was going to say, which one?
It's hard to narrow down.
The guy with the really stupid hair. That
doesn't narrow it down either.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Still hard to narrow
Sam
down.
McClure.
It's the stupid head.
Oh, the villain
Sam McClure.
from Incredibles.
Saying Carlton have to be premiership favourites.
Yeah.
This was just not a very good night by the Cats, unfortunately. Just one of those nights where nothing really happened. We couldn't really do anything right. Like, we were kicking accurately, 12-4, 14-10, but we just couldn't get our hands to the ball first, couldn't get the ball rolling effectively our way. Like Tom Atkins has just been an absolute superstar this year. He had 14 tackles this game, and he's just been absolutely dominant. We'll get to the player things later on, but yeah, this just wasn't a pretty game to watch. It was a tough game to watch, frustrating game to watch. I believe we all would have thought. Carlton getting away, as I said, 14-10, 94 to 12-4, 76 winners. And then Saints at Marvel. Again, I don't know what it is about St Kilda at Marvel. We really struggle to beat them, and we had opportunities to win this game late in that last quarter, where we had rushed behind by Jai Clark, another rushed, and then another behind by Dangerfield, and it was another one by Ted Closey in the last quarter. So we could have had a good win here, but it's something about Ross Lyon and St Kilda. We just can't beat them at the moment, and we really struggle. And I remember going to one game a couple of years ago with you and Sam, joke about it, and yeah, it just feels like it's the same result every single time. We just can't do the things right. Like it's in our head. It feels like it's in our head. And speaking of in the Cats' heads, is against the Giants at home. This loss really pissed me off. Like, as I said on the pod, it just feels like they win the same way every single time. We hit the front with a couple of minutes ago, and then some bullshit goal to Giants on a snap with a minute to go, and then they win the game. This was just as I said, really frustrating game, because it felt like we were so much better than the Giants this game for the entire match, and we just could not kick a goal when we needed to kick a goal. Like, the Mark Blickstav's goal was un-Mark Blickstav's like you would normally back him to kick that goal every single week, every single game. You put your money on it, there you kick it, and he just absolutely botched it. And it's what the Cats did for most of the game as well, just completely botched the ball a lot of the time. Unfortunately, in front of the home crowd, disappointing loss. My least favourite loss of the loss that pissed me off the most, definitely. And then our most recent loss against the Brisbane Lions. This was just a game. I just come out of surgery and watched this game and was pretty out. And
you wanted to go back.
Yeah, back under.
I
wasn't in too much pain because I was still high on them drugs, but what I vaguely remember it just felt like the Cats were way off the ball in this game. Like we just couldn't. Everything we did not work, and everything the Lions did just worked perfectly, and they just sort of romped away with a pretty convincing win in the end, like a 6-15, 51 to 14-8, 92. You know, the Lions going to this game, they were being told that they weren't kicking straight. They were having trouble linking up from defense to attack, from midfield to attack, linking up with each other, not playing a game as a unit, and they couldn't kick goals. And then this game, it was completely switched around where the Cats, we couldn't link up from defense to attack or midfield to attack. Our players just weren't in sync with each other, and we could not kick a goal to save our lives. And the Lions were doing everything right. And I do believe it was just one of these games where we just couldn't, we're just off. We were just way off the mark, and we just couldn't focus, really. It just felt like we were looking forward to a bye and just fell off the ledge, really. But at the end of the day, that's football. We have these games where you just can't play at a extreme enough level to compete with the better teams. And we've got to remember, they are the reigning premiers. They are still a really good team. They've been kicked around in the media for a few weeks, and this was their chance to get a big scalp, and they took us to the sword, and we couldn't respond, unfortunately.
We'll probably play them again in the finals at some stage. You'd like to think if we finish top four and Brisbane Lions finish top four, it's definitely a possibility. John, good stuff. Sambo, take us through the remaining games so far. Well, the remaining games this year, and give us your thoughts on how many you reckon we're going to win of these ones.
Well, my thoughts are wildly uninteresting because I think we will win them all. I do see that Colin's made an absolute howler in the show notes here because he's got us losing to GWS, but we'll forgive it. That's another mistake there. So to round out the rest of the year, we've got Richmond at home. Well, I'll just go through them all first and then maybe share my thoughts a little bit. We've got Richmond at home. We've got the Giants at NG. We've got St Kilda at home. We've got North Melbourne at Marble. We've got Port at home. We've got Essendon at home. We've got Sydney at the SCG and Richmond at the MCG to cap it all off. I do think we could go 100% here. I think I want us to really throw down with GWS. Like I know they can be a bit of a bugbear team for us, but I do feel like we'll just come into this one with a little bit more to prove. I think we're not at home; it's at their home ground. We can hopefully storm and ambush them, and I'm actually reasonably confident that we'll have a really good crack at that. I think the Richmond game might be a weird one. I think coming out of the bye, we always. I don't know if it's a superstition from my point of view, but I just feel like we always come out real sleepy. A lot of teams do. So I think that one might be more competitive than it would appear based on ladder position. I think we will run away with it eventually, but I think, Richmond can still have flashes here and there if you give them a sniff, if you give them enough of a look to actually wake up and get out of bed and remember they're playing a game of football. And especially with some of the narratives and stuff out of this week with a certain player, I again feel like they could be a team with something to prove. And then going through the rest of them, I think we would want to win, bar some weird results, some weather, some just awful days. I know people will go on and on about our easy fixture. I don't think it's necessarily as easy overall. Like there's some teams in there like Sydney.
They're up and about again.
They're really hard one to get the read on. And when this fixture kind of came out and everyone went, oh, they've got an easy draw. I don't think Sydney were doing what they're doing now at that point. So it's so hard to cast forward like that far, without without knowing what form a team is going to be in. But as far as North Melbourne, Port Adelaide, Bombers, and then Richmond again, I think we should be able to bank those. And hopefully, Johnny, we can throw St Kilda to the sword as well. Not at Marvel, thankfully. Not
Thank
at Marvel,
God for
thankfully. If it was at Marvel, I think there might be a bit more, maybe a little bit more chance of it being interesting there. But I'm really liking this run home. I think it is a little softer, I will allow. So that gives us hopefully some time to rest some players, bit of a chance to try some things out, to smooth some edges. But at the same time, I don't think all these games are going to be such a walkover that we're going to head into finals without an idea of what competitive football's like, which that would worry me a little bit. I think some of these games, like, as I said, the Sydney one in particular, could be a good reminder of what it's like to go into a hostile environment and try and come away with the win. That being said, we look ahead to the top 8 predictions, which Ben has masterfully put together for us. I don't think I disagree. Ben, you did allow me to take the credit if I wanted for this top 8. I won't do that, but it's not because I disagree.
No, call it what it is. It's shit.
For the two.
Sorry, this made cap number 1. Oh, well.
Yeah, as I said, had we put the Lions to the sword, I'd be pretty bullish on our chance to just keep steamrolling ahead. But I do think we'll probably take the second spot. Pies at the top. Brisbane and Adelaide to round out the top 4, and then we've got Western Bulldogs, Gold Coast, Fremantle, and Hawthorn. Before I move on from the ladder, does anybody have any feelings on that? Any changes? Anything that they feel will be different to what we've got there?
Nothing major for me, but I would flip Adelaide and Brisbane. It's only a small thing, but I'd flip Adelaide and Brisbane. I think they've got a pretty soft run for the most part as well. Ours is just slightly easier. And I think Adelaide, for the most part, just reaping the benefits of being a lower rung team last year, so they get that draw as a result. Wouldn't mind seeing Hawthorn slip into 7th, just so they have to travel to the Gold Coast to deal with the Suns over there for a final.
That's true.
Just so we can maybe see them get scrubbed nice and early. That'd be nice.
True.
But I also like the idea of them potentially going out to the Dogs in consecutive final series as well. So there's fun either way.
I'd just say that looking at the ladder now, as it stands after whatever we are, around 16, or, if you go from Brisbane in 2nd place down to GWS in 9th, there are 6 points separating those teams. And if you take Adelaide in 3rd to GWS in 9th, there is 1 game separating all of those teams. So there are a lot of teams who are right now, you would look at it and you might look and go, oh, well, GWS are in 9th. They're probably not going to really push for the top 4. They're not a danger to us. You look at the Gold Coast or, the Dogs or whoever. All of these teams are going to be thinking that they're in with a shout to make the top 4. So, when even Port Adelaide, who are, sitting a couple of games outside the 8, we've got to play teams like that. We have to play GWS. Like, these are teams that will have more than likely something to play for. And you can't afford to slip up when it's this close. Like, I really think if we have 2 losses in our last 2 months of footy, we could miss the 4. We might need other results to go our way, even if we go 6-2 in the last 2 months, because it is so even. It is so even, and there are so many teams not just in contention for the 8, but pretty much everyone who's in contention for the 8 is also in contention for the top 4 with 2 months to go.
We probably need Adelaide and Doggies to drop 1 or 2 that they should win to give us a bit of a cushion there. Because, this is assuming we're winning 8 straight to finish the year, which is probably not going to happen. But, if we do, we still will.
Yeah, well, it's because in Ben's eyes, we're a middling club. So,
yeah, we'll come to that. John, thoughts from you, John? GWS are missing. Do you agree GWS misses out, John?
I went through the ladder with, I think, Sam and Jake, or Sam on Sunday. I can't remember what I said, but I think I do remember. Yeah, it was quite the drugs.
I wasn't there, John.
It was just myself in the park. Yeah. Just It's tough without knowing what their fixture. Have a look at but yeah, they could possibly miss out because they're sort of not playing. They're playing good football, but they're also dropping these weird games that they shouldn't as well. Looking at the fixture, you'd say they should win more than what they'll lose, so they've got a better chance of finishing in the top 8 than not. Hopefully, at the expense of the Scum.
They do have a pretty poor percentage at the moment. It's interesting. 7, 8, and 9. So Western Bulldogs, Gold Coast, and Giants currently all have bankable wins next week. So the next games are North Melbourne, Essendon, and West Coast. So the 7, 8, and 9 probably won't shift much for the short future. But I do have, despite their percentage, I do have GWS as a bit of a smoky to maybe jump in.
I also wouldn't be surprised if Gold Coast don't make it because they are not looking that flash hot. Like they should have smashed Melbourne, and they struggled to beat them at the end of that game.
They've got the worst record over the last 5 games of all the top 8 at the moment. So certainly recent form would dictate a shift there. Speaking of form and things shifting, we go in based on that prediction we have there of the 8. We have our finals outlook provided by Ben or Colin. I'm not sure. Maybe Colin's been completely replaced by AI at this point.
Probably.
I'm not sure. It feels like we haven't had enough mistakes recently. I feel like it's highly likely that Colin's not even alive in that booth anymore. So with our finals outlook, we've got qualifying final 1. Collingwood plays Adelaide, the MCG, with Collingwood to win. Qualifying final 2, Geelong defeating Brisbane at the MCG. Elimination final 1 would be the Bulldogs take on Hawthorn at the MCG, and the Bulldogs get the victory. Elimination final 2 would be Gold Coast against Fremantle. Taking the win there would be the Gold Coast, which would lead us into the semi-finals, which would be Adelaide defeating Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval. The second semi-final would be Brisbane defeating Gold Coast at the Gabba. Preliminary finals would leave us with Collingwood playing Brisbane at the MCG. We've given the tip there to Collingwood, and the second preliminary final would be Geelong defeating Adelaide at the MCG, which would be fantastic for Dangerfield, I imagine. A good way to head into the grand final, which would see Cats take on Pies at the MCG for an all-time classic grand final matchup, which the Cats would, of course, win to take home yet another taste of victory. I like that. I like that prediction. It looks good. I feel like most of those results are going the way that I feel as well. There is air for anyone to interject at this point with any feelings on those finals there, but I think you've done well, Paul. Ben, sorry, give him the credit to Paul. You've done well, Paul.
I'll take it. I get plenty of credit as is.
It's about time for Ben to pull his weight, though, I must say.
Don't see him in a self-titled show.
No, not yet. Not yet. Yeah, I think it's a Cats premiership all the way at this point. It's just a matter of just going through the motions really through September, and the 5th premiership in the AFL era is ours for the taking.
Definitely.
I feel really good.
I think you've
got
the old lag.
Somebody talk.
Go to radio silence.
Go,
Jack. The Simpson style technical difficulty.
I was just going to say, I think you've got the teams. the teams that can win the flag for me all season have been Geelong, Collingwood, and Brisbane. I think it's coming from one of those clubs. As much as I think there's some other fun stories, I just think that barring like catastrophic injury or someone just absolutely no showing, I just think Cats, Pies, and Lions, they're all sort of cut from a similar cloth to me. They've got a great mix of old veteran talent who have they've all got, all those 3 clubs have players on their list who have been there and done it within the last, 3 seasons. They are your last three premiership winners. And to add to that, they've also got a lot of young, exciting talent as well. So I just think that as much as it's fun, I'm sure for Adelaide fans to daydream, and who knows, things happen. I mean, Leicester City won the bloody premiership in whatever year that was, and no one saw that coming. I can't look past one of those three teams getting the business done because they're just so strong and so professional, and they've all got experience when it counts.
I would say a smoky for me would be probably Fremantle, just the way they've been building their season since round 10.
I see you've looked at their list.
Yeah.
Best list in the league.
There you go.
I'll flag this, and massive credit to Jackie, who I'm sure is watching and very busy in the chat right now, but she dropped this in the Discord just a while ago, and I'm just going to drop the graphic on the big screen for everyone here. This is the premiership window, according to Fox Footy. They've just gone and your top three that you've just referenced, there we go. Top, what they identify as that window being in the top six, in both offense and defense, and that's where all the premiers, I think, bar one, have come from in the last 10 plus years. And there's your Cats, Pies, and Lions featuring prominently, with some of those other clubs that you mentioned floating around the space. Freo not far off.
Bulldogs and Adelaide miles off it. Okay.
Yeah, this is all in terms of playing against the top 9 teams, of course. So we're kind of factoring that 10 through to 18 out of this, but it's a nice picture when you look at it against kind of other fellow contenders.
A very nice window they've got there.
Hopefully it stays that way. We should be further up to the pointy end after next week as well. Keep Richmond to 15 points for the game, and Cats knock off the 200 milestone again.
Did a 2007 style.
2007 round
119 points.
Round six.
Yep. Round 6. Yep.
Oh,
Jake, 189 points, that one?
Yeah.
Off memory.
157 maybe. Jake, I've thrown you for a loop here because I've skipped over the major sponsor section.
Oh, we better jump in then.
Jump back to that one.
We better jump in because, because as we all know, the Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. You can visit them at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. That is Cook spelled with an E at the end. You can find them up on 035 222 2244. No, that's right. Not at the start. It's not Cyril Cook. It is Cyril Cook with an E after the Cook. You can visit them at their shop in Shop 12, 11 Leather Street in Breakwater. Importantly, for you fine folk, I mean, the absolute cream of the crop of society in the chat, you can get 20% off your next purchase. Online, over the phone, in store, whatever. It's everywhere. It's 20% off if you go and buy some flowers off Cyril Cook and tell them, go Cats. That's what you got to drop in the voucher code, go Cats. You get 20% off. So it's getting a bit Trumpian here. You get your 20% off. It's the best discount available.
It's
all the flowers, beautiful flowers.
Discount.
That's right, the big, beautiful discount. So, yes, thank you, Bob, for getting us back on track. Go buy some flowers. Go buy some flowers for those you love.
Thank you for all the. Thank you, Jack, and thank you for everyone in the chat for dropping your flower emojis. Thank you, Cyril Cook. Have supported us since the AFLW season last year as well. So we appreciate their love, and it's nice to get some feedback, Jake, from them that people are starting to ring them up and put some orders through as well. So that's going really well. Make flowers great again. There's no pizza prize this week, Kira.
Build a wall of flowers.
Good comment, but no pizza prize. Shannon pizza.
Only if you pick out 3 Ben mistakes.
Well, you probably will. There's not many graphics left. I don't think we've got many graphics left after this. Is there one left? No, there's no more graphics left. All right. This is
the budget right now.
We'll bring back Jack Bose.
How are we going, Cat? We're Jack Bowies. We're 50 minutes in. We've got to do some player reviews, but before we do that, let's do some predictions for the year. So I've got you guys have done a good job sending me your predictions in the last couple of days. So the Premier this year, and we've just talked about the finals and the top 8, but we all agree. Is this Geelong show? Maybe it is, but we all agree that the Geelong Cats are going to win the premiership in 2025. So no one's put their neck out to say someone else is going to win it because no one wanted to get chopped down. Ben will make more mistakes, roaming. Don't worry about that. We are a middling team. That was a mistake from about round 5, I think it was, something like that. Someone else needs to do the post-game show because I tend to get a bit.
Because you're a fucking sook, is that it?
After a loss. And then,
stalky, whiny bitch.
I think we should nominate Johnny to do the post-game show.
John,
Sure.
Take over, John.
How long? It won't be long before it's demonetized.
Oh yeah, it was showing me.
Yeah. John won't actually let anyone else come onto the show.
No.
He'll just sit there and rant.
Mate, that's just an episode of the Paul James Show. Don't worry about it.
You're encroaching into your territory.
So the runner-up, we've all got pretty much all of us have got Collingwood except Johnny, who's gone a little bit different. He's gone Brisbane. John, are you still happy sticking with Brisbane? You don't rate Collingwood. You don't rate them at all this year. You think they're going to fall in?
I don't rate any
Gonna
other
miss
team.
finals. Yeah, it's true.
Fair enough.
It's distasteful having to pick another team at all in these predictions.
Yeah, so I just
Even
picked
as
one out of the
runner-up.
hat. No, it's just wanted to be a bit different. No.
And so the
Collingwood
rising star, we went a little bit differently for this one. So there's only 2 names we came up with. It was Levi Ashcroft and Connor O'Sullivan. But myself, Sambo and Paul have all gone Levi, and Jake and Johnny have done the right thing, picked a Geelong player there. Connor O'Sullivan have a massive final 8 weeks and hit the front in the voting late in the piece there. Still sticking with Connor. You feel like he's going to have a big finish to the year, guys?
Yeah, I just think he's been playing so well throughout the entire year. He definitely deserves the rising star. Like Levi Ashcroft is a pretty good player, but I haven't watched many Brisbane Lions games, but I haven't heard his name that often. Haven't heard his name be mentioned as a favourite. But yeah, I just think the way O'Sullivan's been playing, he's just been pretty close to perfect for a technically second year player, but really it's his first full year.
It was 1 game last year or something, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, and it was like the last game or something.
Probably against North.
They debuted him, I believe, against. Yeah, no, they did. They did debut him against North, I'm sure. Yep.
Shock. The Coleman Medal race, we've only come up with 1 name there, and it's Jeremy Cameron. And I think most neutrals would probably say Jeremy with an 8-goal lead after round 16, probably going to have to fall in a heap to lose it from here. Even though, I don't know, we're playing a bunch of average teams, so Jeremy should fill his boots on a few of those, you'd think. But you never know; things can happen. He might get injured or whatever.
Don't say that.
No, that's
so far, thanks to this pod, we've got Holmes doing another injury, and now Jeremy Cameron falling off it as well.
Well, no prelims against Brisbane, please.
We'll drop into the VFL finally.
Yeah, drop into the VFL. The Brownlow medal probably will be a little bit closer, but we've all gone Bailey Smith for that one as well. I could see that one, maybe Bailey.
But the memes.
Yeah, but look, Bailey will probably win it, but maybe someone comes over the top like a Didac, or who else is there in the race for that at the moment? Ed Richards, is he a realistic chance? I don't know.
People keep floating Nick Dacos around. I don't understand how his name gets tied to it at the moment with the amount he's been tagged this year and some of those jobs that have really squashed him. But Jordan Dawson's a name flying around too. Quite a bit.
Yeah, Jordan Dawson. Yep. Possibly, but it's Bailey's. And Bailey will win everything this year. Probably win the Norm Smith medal too. We haven't got that. We didn't do that prediction yet. That might be a bit too arrogant predicting the Norm Smith medalist. But save that for
Us. Never.
Us.
As long as we play in the grand final a few days later, because God help us if Bailey Smith wins a Brownlow and then we don't have a footy game coming up in the next few days, it could be a wild night.
Get on the nose beers, everyone.
Around the campfire.
Get your razor blades out and your
Jesus.
Class coffee. Sorry.
Peaking
That's only football.
Credit card. There you go. I'm going to shut up. All right. Paul, Let's finish the back end of the show with some player reviews. Now, Paul, I've given you this grouping of players. Was there 9 here? Yep, there's 9 players here. These are all the players that haven't missed a game so far this year. Take us through these ones.
Yeah, they're all putting together some pretty solid seasons. So, Mac, we've spoken quite a bit about several of these players already, but there's, how many have we got in this particular group? We've got 9 players who've played 15 games so far this season. Max Holmes, Tom Atkins, Zach Guthrie, Ollie Dempsey, Mark O'Connor, Jeremy Cameron, Brad Close, Tyson Sengel, including his 100th, obviously really recently, and Big Scratcher Neil. And, I look at all of those names and they've all put together pretty good seasons. Mark O'Connor, I think, is probably having a career best season. Shannon Neal is continuing to grow into his role. Zach Guthrie has been a soldier in defence, especially in some of those earlier stages of the season when Tom Stewart was out. He does such a great job of that. When Tom Stewart's down, he steps up and plays the exact same role. We've spoken already about Holmes and Atkins, Jeremy Cameron, Ollie Dempsey. I mean, surely we're talking All-Australian there. I know the conversation has been going on for a little while, but I think the big question mark that people keep raising is, are we actually going to put a genuine wingman in there, or are we just going to stick another midfielder? But I think Ollie Dempsey's making such a strong case that it's kind of hard to ignore him as a serious contender for that particular spot. Him and McCluggage is probably the 2 front runners on either wing as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
Brad Close has probably had a quieter season than normal.
Would you say Zach Guthrie? Sorry, Paul, to cut you off. Would you say Zach Guthrie's had as good a year as last year, or because for me he's the one that probably maybe just a shade off last year for me?
I'd say for the most part he's been in the same ballpark. There's been some moments. I think he's had a few moments that have been a little bit uncharacteristic, but I wouldn't say he's had games where you go, oh, he's down. Like I'm pretty confident that if the ball goes into his space, he's going to do a great job. And yeah, there's not been enough of those moments where I've felt uneasy or wobbly if he goes down there. I'm not having to worry about giving him a nickname like I did Jack Henry last season. Foreskin reference again for everyone if you've forgotten that joke. I'm pretty happy with the season he's compiling. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily as good as last year, but it's there or thereabouts. But yeah, Brad Close is one that I would say has been down this year. He's had games where he's been really, really hot, and there's been others where he's been quite cold as well. Now, I do think, and we often discuss this, I think, on all of our different platforms that we get to talk about, him being the link man that he is, his impact on the game can then be impacted by what's going on further up the ground. But I would say overall, it's maybe a lesser season from Brad Close up to this point, but I don't think it'll take much for him to really hit his straps either. So,
any thoughts from anyone else on that list? I guess Jeremy's having an absolute blinder. He's probably going to win his second Coleman at this rate. Anyone stand out, or any other comments others have on that grouping?
Only Tom Atkins, but everyone knows how I feel about Tom Atkins. I'll say nothing.
Everyone's seen the shrine. I'd just say that I just on Zach Guthrie, I think it's just sometimes I was trying to just look into it quickly. Like he is averaging fractionally more turnovers per game this season. It's only about, I don't know, half a turnover extra per game. But that sort of matches up with what my eyes have probably seen. I just think he's probably maybe not quite using the ball as well out of the back line as previous seasons. Now, I think it'd be worth saying too that like he is getting used to Connor O'Sullivan being back there and taking up some of that workload, that intercepting. I guess I wonder with Zach Guthrie, is he maybe more accountable this year than others? There were times last year where I felt like he was really freed up to sort of do a bit of what he wanted, especially when Tom Stewart was out of the side. Whereas I feel like they're sort of giving that role to Connor O'Sullivan at times this year. And so Zach Guthrie is kind of asked to be a bit more responsible, which makes sense. He's the more experienced player. So he should be asked to do that sort of thing. I'd
also argue
I don't think he's having a bad season, but I would say...
Sorry about
yes.
hijacking that.
Yeah,
The delay threw that into chaos, but I think he's being asked to rebound a little bit more. So I think that means that, as a result, you're going to get a few more of those turnovers because you're being asked to play a more aggressive game, and as a result, you're sometimes going to miss a target. So, I think for that kind of development in his role, for the 0.5 increase in turnovers per game, I can deal with that.
Definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
All right, John, take us through the next group of players. These are the players that have played between 11 and 14 games. So they've either been spelled for a few weeks or a little niggle, or they've been – I don't think we omit too many players, do we? It doesn't seem like the thing we do at Geelong for some reason. But
not
anyway,
too many.
Managed.
Is there 10 on this list? You might have 10.
That list is Humphreys,
10 long.
STK, Mark Blix, Connor O'Sullivan, Oisin Mullen, Bailey Smith, Brian Myers, Dangerfield, Henry, Ollie Henry, and Sean Manor. I think all these guys have played really good football. Obviously, Ollie Henry is the one whose form is way down on what it was last year, and he's just hasn't found it yet, as I'm sure Paul has talked about a fair bit already. But I felt like when he came in against the Lions, he looked better than he had the last few weeks, kicking that goal. Like he sort of played that half forward midfield area, and I thought he did some really good things for the Cats. Lawson Humphreys, he's just absolute freakish player, like what he can do in the game on his left and right foot. The goal he kicked from 15 metres on his left boot against Essendon was ridiculous. He's just another one of those players that the Cats just find somehow that turns into one of these awesome players. Unfortunately, SDK, as we all know, is injured. I think it's another 2 weeks before he comes back, and he's been a big part of the defence. Like he's been that big, tall lockdown defender who has locked down some big opponents in the year. It also has moments where he sort of, as we say, he drops his head, has a bit of a sook, has a bit of a cry, and doesn't get back into contest until a few moments later, and it's like they may kick a couple of goals on him then, but overall I still think he's playing a good game. He's still got to grow and learn. He's still extremely young. Like he's still learning how to play a game in a really good side against some of the top teams in big games as well. Also got Oisin Mullen. I think he's playing pretty good football. Like he's obviously in the team to tag players. He's just there to negate players on the opposition who are the big stars. Like he did against Nick Dacos, did really well against him. Did against, I think it was the Bulldogs, Ed Richards for a bit, and he really locked him down for a couple of quarters. Yeah, he's still got a lot to learn. His skills aren't there yet, but I think each week slowly gets a bit better. He's got the speed, he's got the pace, his kicking's getting better, his awareness is getting better. So hopefully the Cats stick with him. Hopefully the fans can stick with him as well. Bailey Smith, don't think we need to say much about him. Absolute superstar, doing everything we want. Brian Myers, again, I think Jake's said enough about Brian Myers. Like he's playing a really good year. Dangerfield, same, absolute monster, doing everything that we need, inserting himself in games when we need someone to be the captain. He's doing that now, big time. And Sean Manor is having a really solid year. Like he has moments where he makes bad decisions, bad mistakes that can cost us. But then he has those moments where he can, in a game, kick 3-4 goals and win us a game like he did against the Scum. So overall, I think all these guys are playing really good games. Obviously, Ollie Henry, the one who is not back at his best, but I think that's a big confidence thing. And hopefully, after those couple of good moments against Lions, he can start getting that back in his game and start kicking goals and being that player we know he can be.
He's got time. He's got time.
It's just interesting on.
Oh, sorry, Jake. You go.
So just a small stat thing on Ollie Henry. I was just looking, like last year he was averaging 3 marks per game, which isn't massively high, but 2 of those marks per game were inside 50. This season, he's averaging 2.5 marks per game. So that's not drastically dropped from last year. But he's only averaging 0.8 marks inside 50. So that in itself is a little bit interesting to me. And, Paul alluded to it earlier in the show about like the impact of, Dangerfield in the forward line. I think it did change dynamics for Jeremy Cameron earlier in the season. So, like, it can't not have an impact on Ollie Henry. But having said that, you still got to make things happen when you have your moments to make things happen. And there have been times where, he's done it occasionally this year. And then there's been some times where he hasn't as well. I thought he was relatively fortunate to be recalled from the VFL after just the one game down there. I think there's some credits in the bank for him with the coaching group. Like, that's how it sort of plays to me. But he didn't look like he was knocking the door down. I think there's just no one else who's exactly going to fill the sort of role they want him to fill. And so he was bumped back up. But yeah, I think he's got to take some of it into his own hands and do a little more when the opportunity presents itself.
I also missed one player. That was Mark Blixhouse. Sorry, everyone. Mark Blix is having an awesome year. The unicorn, the freak, the Swiss Army knife player that we need, and he's doing everything that we want him to do, except not kicking a goal against goal guard. Yes.
He's a gun, though, isn't he? Give him another 5 years, I reckon. He's an absolute superstar, that bloke. Absolute superstar. All right, throwing to you, Sambo, for the next grouping of players. Now, these are the players that have played at least one game and up to 10 games. So 1 to 10 games.
Yeah, and we've got quite a list of players here that it's surprising to me when you go through, like, I don't know if you guys do this, where you just kind of blank the amount of games that certain players have played. And you go, God, did they actually play that many? But the list is Jack Bowes, Tom Stewart, Jack Henry, including his 150th, Reece Stanley, Ted Closey, Mitch Duncan, including his 300th, Jai Clark, Mitch Nevitt, Jed Hughes, Jack Martin, and Ollie Wilshire with his debut. So I guess I'll just go through the list in order, starting with Jack Bowes, who he's one of those ones where I didn't. It says he played 10 games for this year. Is this correct? Is this
he's missed the last 5?
I would have guessed he only played about half a dozen. Honestly, that he'd played 10, which probably is not a great sign. I guess his impact this year. I'm pretty forgiving of Jack Bowes. I'm someone that I will give him a long leash because I like when he's on. He can do some things. The way he can step through traffic is kind of up there with the best, I find. But then he can kind of seem to disappear and be picking daisies or something off on the sidelines. So he's pretty much down on all his stats compared to his career averages this year, apart from tackles, which are up. So it's good to know he's been putting in some defensive work. But I have to admit, I've not really noted it. Like, I don't think he's really stood out to me, which is fine. He's not necessarily a player there to stand out, but that's just my summation of his year is kind of a little bit unremarkable, I guess. Moving on to Tom Stewart, I think he's been a little bit maligned by the media who've talked about him being way out of form, and there was a point there where several people were actually saying that he was a liability, he was a negative impact when he's on the team. Which I just think's ludicrous. I think he did have a couple of games there when he was working back into it, that he maybe wasn't at peak efficiency. But who does come back into the side at peak efficiency after missing some football? So Tom Stewart, I think, is just about
at 32 as well.
Hey,
get it off
at 30. At 32.
I'm not going to let you forget about it. You can't spell to save yourself. You've been doing that one for years.
I'm just smashing out about 20 graphics. Sometimes in my rush, I get something wrong.
Honestly, I've got to be honest. I'm glad I'm not doing the graphics. If you think Ben's spelling is bad, and combine that with my handwriting, and it would be brilliant. I think next live show I should do the graphics handwritten, and we'll have some have some real fun deciphering what the fuck I'm on about.
Yeah, but I don't know if people can see over my left shoulder here, but that's a picture that Sambo drew, so he's pretty handy in there with the pen.
Yeah, but if you look even closer at the signature, you'll see it looks like I've written in German. No, the back to Tom Stewart. He's a champion. He's not a young lad. I've been really impressed with the way he's come back, the way he's kind of handled himself and marshaled that back line hand in hand with the next gent we're going to talk about, Jack Henry, who also, I think people just expected him to come back in and immediately just be taking screamers in both 50s and winning us a game, which it's just, I feel like the bar was set really high for him. But the night and day difference for me, now it does suck to miss SDK, but the night and day difference for me is the backline without Tom Stewart and Jack Henry versus the backline with those two lads. Like, I think them in there has been a huge thing, and it's not always evident, like on the broadcast, like just watching the game. I think what happens off the ball with those guys, with the organization of it, they're not always necessarily the one getting the touch, getting the intercept, but you see way fewer howlers in the back line with both Stewie and Jack Henry in there. So no questions for me on their input thus far. And then we've got the Crypt Master. We've got Rhys Stanley himself getting getting dusted off, getting refueled and brought out of the back to tank, put back into his cybernetic armor to keep him delivering. Yeah, hopefully there's no water into that, Jake. But yeah, like, look, Rhys Stanley is again another player. I feel like a lot of these guys are that if they're not playing like career best or league defining statistical outputs, they somehow need to be dropped. But I think we need to get on our knees and thank Rhys Stanley in all the ways we can imagine thanking him from such a position.
Morally.
For being
I was going to say take him to a crematorium.
That's what happens at the farm.
So it can finally die and retire.
No, John, no, we cannot do that. We cannot let Rhys Stanley rest because he's the only one. Everybody touch wood. He's the only one thus far impervious
Here's another one
to the Geelong ruck curse that we have at the moment. But yeah, I think people love to have a bitch and a moan about him, but without him there to literally patch up the holes, I think we would be in a bit of a dire straits in that middle section of the ground. We've got a couple of players that I might group together a little bit. Jake would be in a much better position to discuss them, and if you're looking for more info on these players, definitely tune into Jake's videos on the twos. But those players would be Ted Closey, Jai Clark, and Ollie Wiltshire. Is it Wiltshire or Wiltshire? What are we going with?
Still.
Worcestershire sauce?
It depends how I feel.
Okay. I'll just continue to put a bit of a zhuzh on it to cover the fact that I don't know what I'm saying. Ollie Wiltshire. So these three players, he had his debut, of course, and he's a little bit different. But Ted Closey, Jai Clark, and Ollie, all for me are a little bit in that basket of they're still very green. They're just a little green around the gills still. They're not necessarily quite up. Like, I don't think they would necessarily have all of them in a position to play as many, to have a look without, other circumstances, injuries, Ted Closey for me is the one that's closest. I'm pretty sure this is backed up by Jake and his opinions in the twos. Wiltshire sounds more upmarket. I agree. Let's go with that. And I should make sure to always say Oliver, not Ollie. Oliver Wiltshire. Yeah, I think Ted Closey is the one who's the closest. I think he really wants to crack in and tear a game open. I think his body's closest. For me, Jai Clark, still a bit of a what if, not even a what if, a what is. I think is a better way to put it. It's a what exactly is he going to be? Not even what he is now, but what is he going to grow into? I still don't know. Ollie Wiltshire was like, I enjoyed his verve, like his excitement and passion to be out there was really exciting to see. I only played the two games, I think. But yeah, I think if we're going to sort of bundle them all together, I think Ollie was fortunate to get a run and showed a bit of stuff. Jai Clark and Ted for me are the closer to actually cracking in, but yeah, I still don't know where Jai Clark is. And going all the way back to the crypt, the back to tank right next to Reece Stanley's is occupied predominantly by Mitch Duncan. And he has been leashed up and dragged out onto the field a couple of times, even had to go near the ball several times on multiple occasions, which you could see he was absolutely dreading. there was now
it's not in his contract.
I'm actually, Jesus Christ. Let me go back to Reece's farm. I'm actually not down. Like, there's some things he's done. There was a particular delivery inside 50 that we talked about on the pod, and I said to Jake and Johnny at the time, we don't have anybody else that's delivering into the 50 like that. Brian Myers is the closest, but he's still a little more like, it's a little bit more hit or miss. But when Mitch Duncan is in the position to scythe it inside 50 at an appropriate angle, right height, puts the right amount of juice on it, it's actually a thing of beauty. But outside of some of those moments, it did feel to me like a little bit of old Gil from the Simpsons when the ball went near Duncan. This where he's like, not old Mitch. But in spite of himself and his own reservations, I think he's been, remarkably adept throughout the games that he has had to play. Mitch Nevitt, to me, has disappeared a little bit in my memory banks of exactly how he's only played the 5. I feel like he probably looked pretty goey physically. Like, I think his body's getting to the point. He's looking like a strong lad that can actually sort of throw his weight around. He's still a bit of a mystery, but that mystery does excite me a little bit with Mitchy Nevitt, that he could be close to one of those kind of games or stretch of games at some point where everybody else forgets that he's played for us, and they go, "Who the hell's this guy? Where do they pluck these guys from?" But it's still a little bit of a wait and see, I suppose. And then we've got Jed Buse, and I don't think I've missed anyone. Jed Buse and Jack Martin to round it out. Jed Buse, favorite of the show, favorite of I'm assuming favorite of Paul's. I remember a phrase that stuck with me that Jake used for Jed Buse seasons ago was a swashbuckling player. And it stuck with it really is how I view him. When he gets the ball, he wants to take him on. He would not look out of place on a pirate ship, I think. With some buckled boots and a saber in hand. But yeah, I love the way Buse goes about it. I thought he did nothing wrong, really. The classic quote from Brian Taylor there.
Alongside other iconic lines like "fuck."
Yeah. I think Brian Taylor should be very wary of those stones in his hands as he's wading into this glass house that he's stepping into here.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Brian Taylor though is I think we need to remove the word race. He's just the horse that needs to get shot. He was never able to
He never really got up to be on the gallop.
He's that overweight donkey that needs to be shot. Anyway, Jed Buse, I think is unfortunate probably to not have been able to get in and have a bit more representation this year. He's only played the 3, but I wouldn't have argued had they left him in, had they rolled him back through a little bit more consistently. Really, like I think if he makes some more appearances, I thought he looked up to it, honestly. I think there was some games there where he maybe made the wrong call a little bit, but you get that with those players that want to take stuff on and make a difference. So yeah, I would like to see him again. Jack Martin's an interesting one. We've heard a lot about Jack Martin coming into the season and throughout the year, discussing his performances in the twos where he apparently was ripping it up. I thought I'm still yet to see it, I suppose. He's only played the 3. I thought he looked pretty classy and slick when the opportunity seemed to suit him. But then when you've only played 3 and one of those is the example you set in the Brisbane game, it damages your averages pretty badly. So in my mind, he's still sitting as a real iffy kind of prospect, but that's only like I trust everything that's been said about his performance in the VFL, etc. But from my eyeballs, having only seen the 3 games, it's kind of like his upside is not necessarily being offset very well by the downside, which was a bit of a mess, to be perfectly honest. I really liked when he looked up and about. I really liked his ball use. He looked like he had a really clean disposal. But then you get a third of his games is that dog's breakfast that was put on display against the Lions. So, speaking of dog's breakfast, that's my whole spiel done.
Love it. I reckon big bold prediction here for me. Mitch Nevitt will be the story of 2025. Wait for Mitch Nevitt to be injected against the Tigers and for them to find it impossible to get him out of the side. And
Get around him.
Get around Mitch Nevitt in the final 8 weeks and into September, everyone.
Big call. Lifting up a few inches.
What's it? How des, there you go. All right, bring us home, Jake, with the players that haven't cracked it this year. Well, they might have cracked the shits for not playing, but they haven't cracked it for a game in the seniors at this stage. And I should say straight off the top, don't ask about TB. Taylor, yeah, don't ask. We're not going to mention TB. Everyone else, Jake, go your hardest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, I would be cracking it if I was Cam Guthrie. They sort of went gently with him, trying to work him back in, and he ends up sort of getting injured anyway. It seemed to be one of those like, he was aware he had a hamstring or something like that. So we pulled him out of the game. So I don't know, with Cam Guthrie, like it's so hard to know. Like when he was out there for the couple of VFL games I watched him play, you're just reminded of like what a player he was at his best. You forget he's like quite a big body out there. He is good in contested situations, whether that's on the ground or in the air. Like he would be such a good player for us to bring back in right now. Like he would absolutely strengthen our starting lineup. But like at this point in time, it feels like he's made of glass. Jake Kolajasny's been in a bit of the same sort of boat this year with injury, sort of keeping him out, even of the VFL side. I was just trying to look in my little spreadsheet as to how many games Kolajasny's even played. He's only played the 1 VFL match this season. So, he's not got a lot of footy under his belt either at any level. Toby Conway, yet to play this season. I think I had in my preseason notes on the VFL that I wanted Toby Conway to play at least 10 games and be healthy at the end of the season. So he didn't have an interrupted run into 2026. Right now, I'll take any footy from him on the park, VFL or AFL, and ending 2025 healthy, not having to go in and get off-season surgery. Like I think that would be the best thing for the Cats is, even if he doesn't make it back onto the AFL field this year, let's get him absolutely right. He plays maybe a month of VFL footy at the end of the year and he's off and running for 2026 and we see how he goes from there. I'm just going to sort of go through the rest of the names because I've got sort of more detailed thoughts on a couple. We've got George Stevens, who's one I want to come back to. Mitch Edwards has only just come back. So if you don't know Mitchell Edwards, again, young, promising, mobile ruckman. He's done some really exciting things in extremely limited game time over the last couple of seasons. But he's big and tall enough that you can play him in the ruck, but he's also mobile enough that he can gallop along a wing without any trouble at all. So he's sort of an exciting athlete, but needs to get healthy. Another one who needs to get healthy. Jay Polkinghorne has been doing pretty well in the twos. He's played 11 games in the VFL this year. He's kicked 17 goals, 12. He's taken 39 marks, laid 30 tackles. I think he's still working a lot on his one-on-one, contested craft. I think he started the season like a bit of a house on fire. Like he was in line to kick I think it was 40 goals for the season or something like that if he continued to average the goals per game he was. It sort of slipped off a bit, I would say, the last 6 weeks. I think teams have created different ways to cause him trouble, and being a rookie, I think he's just hit that wall a bit physically and probably a bit mentally. Went through a bit of a challenging month in terms of on the field, just not getting the sort of production that he would have liked to. So he's a work in progress, but I think there's some signs to like. He is a really good competitor. He does take good contested marks. He does fight for the ball in terms of defensively, tackling and that sort of thing, which is important if you're going to be a forward in this Geelong side. His goal kicking looked really good early in the season. I actually wrote notes on how relaxed he looked, taking his set shots for goal. Feel like that's got a bit interrupted across the second half of the season. I'm going to chuck these next probably half a dozen names just in a bunch because there's 2 players I want actual detailed thoughts on. So Keaton Matafai-Forbes, Xavier Ivisic, Jacob Mollier, Joe Pike, Killian Burke, and Lennox Hoffman. So Hoffman, haven't seen him play yet. Jacob Mollier, haven't seen him play yet. Xavier Ivisic, look, honestly, hasn't popped off the screen to me. Out of all the rookies Geelong have brought in this year, to me, he looks the most raw. Physically, probably doesn't look as big and strong as the others yet. And even in terms of the football craft, he just looks like he's probably got the most work to do to get on the park from an AFL sense. Killian Burke has sort of surprised me in terms of the type of player he is. Irish lad brought in from County Kerry, has played pretty much as a tall forward and has shown some moments. I think he's a very selfless player. He's set teammates up in good positions to kick goals. I think he'll be a good contested mark. Kicked an absolute ripper of a set shot around the body from the pocket for his first major. So, yeah, he's sort of exciting. He had an injury-interrupted start to his career at the hoop. So, yeah, I'm probably looking more like 2026, 2027, if he's still hanging around the roster, that's when you'll sort of expect to maybe see a little bit more from him. Joe Pike, plan for him would have been to operate as like the second ruck in this VFL side. As it's been with injury, he's been forced into the main role and he's battled really hard. I think he's starting to come along in terms of his confidence in his tap work and his clearance work as well. Those numbers have been right up the last probably 5 weeks, but I don't see him getting on an AFL field this year. And I think probably something he lacks at the moment is the ability to get around the ground and fill a hole and intercept mark. I just don't think that's something he has in his game at the moment. I don't know if that's a fitness thing and an ability to cover the ground or what that is. But, his marking numbers is something that I'd like to see come up. Sorry, I'm trying to get through these. There's quite a few names. Keaton Matafai-Forbes started life as a forward and a wingman. He's very athletic, very strong-bodied, has one of the biggest kicks I have ever seen pull on a hoop Guernsey. Like, he kicks an easy, 70 meters off his left boot, I think. And so what they've started to do is they've pretty much been playing him down back and off halfback. And you can see the sort of skill. Yes. Yeah. And in our counter-attack game, when we're working to turn the ball over in our own back line and then slingshot, I can see Keaton Matafai-Forbes launching bombs to a Jezza or a Danger in the center square, and suddenly, 2 kicks and we're getting a look at goal. He's got stuff to work on defensively, I think, still, if he's going to make it down back. And that just leads me to my 2 players. I'll just give you my last thoughts on. That's George Stevens and Patrick Rechko. So out of all the guys they've brought in this year, Patrick Rechko looks the most likely for me to see an AFL field even this year. He is so he's got an endless sort of tank in terms of his running. He just runs and runs and runs. He's a very sneaky, good contested mark in the same way that Brian Myers is. Like for their size, they compete really well in the air. But his work rate, there's a moment in a couple of games where he takes a mark in defensive 50, kicks to the lead of Jay Polkinghorne out on a wing, and then it's 12 seconds later, it's Rechko that's taking the next mark in the chain. Like he works so hard forward of the ball. He's averaging off the wing, Rechko, 20 disposals per game. He's taking about 3.5 marks per game. He's laying about 2 tackles per game. And I think it's about 2.5 clearances per game and a goal per game. What I need to see from him, though, is defensive pressure. Runs really hard going forward. I think he can get exposed a little bit when the ball goes back the other way. So I think that is something he's probably got to rectify. And there's been a few moments where he's probably put himself in position to tackle and make a good defensive stop. And probably the tackling technique isn't quite there to wrap up and bring the opponent down. So he's very exciting. I think you can see an obvious skill set there that the Cats would value. And then George Stevens, if you haven't watched it yet, Jeff White on the First Use YouTube channel did a terrific breakdown of George Stevens' clearance work and what he can bring. Stevens this year is averaging 26.5 disposals per game. He's averaging over 6 tackles per game, and he's averaging a tick under 8 clearances per game. So he is absolutely filling the stat sheet. I think he's added, he's kicked 3 goals this season, which is more, I think, than he kicked in all of his previous games combined for the Cats. So he's hit the scoreboard a little bit. I think he's using the ball well in uncontested situations. And that's something I've noticed, that he's always been strong around the ball. He's always been strong around the clearance. His spread now from the contest, I think, is a lot better. I think he's getting himself in position to have uncontested possession as well. And when he does that, like, he uses the ball really nicely. So there is a leg speed concern. You can't shy away from it, but it'll be, can he make what he does, which is his defensive work around stoppages, his clearance work around stoppages, can he make that such a strength that it can overwhelm the deficit in leg speed? Because it is there. Like, if I had to athletically compare him to someone from the AFL side at the moment in terms of physically, it's like Mitch Duncan. Like, he doesn't move like a Sean Manor. He doesn't move like a Bailey Smith. Like, I think his ceiling athletically would be Tom Atkins. And if he can get there, then he can become an AFL player. But right now, he's a tick off it. So there's my thoughts on the players with no games. Jake,
quick couple of questions for you. This is the hardest thing about supporting a club and getting attached to some of these AFL listed players that spend much of their first couple of years at the VFL level. Most of these guys aren't going to be with us. Well, at least probably half of them may not be with us at the end of this year. Who do you think will keep their spot? And you probably don't have to go through all of them, but maybe just a couple of names that you think are probably on their way out. You might have sort of indicated one of them already, but who do you think's very close to a debut and will probably be given every opportunity versus who do you think's maybe moving on?
I think it's possible we could see Stevens this year. I don't think it would be a debut to stay in the side, but if they, like one of these games against Richmond, perhaps, maybe they see some, maybe that's that last round of the season. If there's nothing to be gained, ladder position-wise, and they think it's more beneficial to give someone a rest, I could see them giving George Stevens a look. Look, it really is only he and Patrick Rechko for me. I don't think any of these other guys, like the rookie players who haven't played games, I don't see any of them getting a look this year. They either fit into the category of have been too injured or are still too raw in their development. I think as hard as it is we're looking at a situation where one of George Stevens, Ted Closey, might be gone at the end of the year because they yes, we're going to have some retirements, but reality is, and people will go, what about Jai Clark, or what about, player X, Y, or Z? Jai Clark's contracted till the end of 2026. So he's here. He's got his spot.
Trade him.
Yeah.
Has he got maybe.
Yeah, maybe trade him.
No, I'm not saying get rid of him, but
it's touch and go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a local boy.
I think Closey and Stevens are in a battle. I don't see how you keep all of these players. I think Closey's got the edge at the moment because he has an ability to hit the scoreboard, and I think he can play either on ball or you can play him as a pressure forward. At the moment, Stevens only does the one thing, and that is you play him on ball. But having said that, he does it really, really well. He does it really well. If people go back, I did a ranking, sort of a mini episode ranking Closey, Clark, and Stevens against each other. It's up on the YouTube, and I ranked them in 7 different categories, so you can sort of get an idea on where I think they are, and it is quite close between the 3.
Did you give it to Ted from memory? I think it was Ted, just by a whisker.
Ted, I think I had it stacked Ted, Stevens, and Clark, which is kind of ironic because contractually it works the opposite way. Clark has his extra year already guaranteed. So, yeah, it's tricky.
Anyone else? Any thoughts from Paul, Sambo, or John on Jake? And thank you, Jake, because you do an amazing job with the VFL. Make sure you check out the twos. Jake, I think you're posting some 10-minute clips of that lately on the main YouTube channel, but the full videos are on Patreon every week. So, guys, any other thoughts on some of those players that you want to highlight?
Not from me. Pretty well covered, as always, Jake.
Very well
nailed it.
researched and done. So, yeah, nothing from me.
Absolute superstar, Jake. Paul, we have... How queued up are you, Paul, for some Twitter fan questions? Have you got that ready to go?
I mean, I'm looking at them.
Read them out there. That's fine. Just read them out. Don't worry about it.
There's a few there. They exist.
They're there.
I've got
a couple in the chat.
Scaredy Cat that said, "Is it okay that we can't play at home when we play like champs at the G?" I mean, considering we're probably not playing a game at home and come finals, yeah, I can deal.
We'll be fine.
It's a good problem to have, really.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scaredy Cat. We've got David who's reached out saying, "Is Atkins holding our midfield together, and are we desperately short 2 real inside mid bulls?" And I guess that's where the George Stevens conversation kind of comes into the mix, potentially, in terms of where he's headed with that particular line of thinking. But I wouldn't say Tom Atkins is holding the midfield together. I think he's the perfect foil for what we've got around him.
Yeah, and judging by some comments from Dangerfield and the like in the locker rooms after some of the games, Atkins is sort of corralling them, keeping them all on task. I would in a lot of ways, I know we haven't absolutely blitzed everybody in the midfield every week, but in a lot of ways, the mix at the moment to me feels like I wouldn't touch too much yet. It seems to be working remarkably well.
Yeah.
That bit of insight that I think a few people jumped on the back of, but I think Nathan Buckley first brought to the table the other week about how we're kind of just playing this ultimate defensive game that then sets Holmes and Smith loose off the back of the contest was really, really fascinating. I don't know if everyone here has seen that. I know a few people in the chat referenced it when a few weeks ago on the Paul James show, but that was a really fascinating bit of commentary in terms of how Geelong has been using Atkins, O'Connor, and Mullen in these really defensive roles, negating the opposition's gun midfielders and then allowing, because they're not having to play directly on one of these blokes, allowing Smith and Holmes to just run riot. It was a really fascinating one. It's certainly, I know it's not necessarily where the question was headed in the first place, but I think it's a really fascinating way that Geelong can play it. And as Buck said at the time, he hasn't really seen a team play a mode of midfield kind of structure like this before, and it seems to be working pretty well. Maxwellian has jumped in. Does Ollie Henry get back in the team? Will Jack Martin stay in? And what position does he play? Do any players in the VFL make it back to the team? Does Cam Guthrie play an AFL game this year? A few of these we've obviously already discussed. What can we do better against GWS and Brisbane, given we may play them in September? That was 15 questions. You're getting greedy there, Max.
Yeah, Max.
Yeah, his name is Max. So
Just-
getting this much.
Just on Cam Guthrie.
Go, Jake.
On Cam Guthrie, I'd just say if Cam Guthrie's actually healthy, he gets in. Like, he is a best 23 player if he's healthy. He is an auto pick for me. I think absence can sometimes make us lose sight of how fucking good he was. I mean, this guy's like multiple Carji Greaves medals. He would instantly come in and make our team better. But yeah, but the only question mark is his health. And you wouldn't put any amount of money on him staying healthy at the moment, because it's just like if he plays 2 or 3 games in a row, then something happens to the body. So it's really sad because he's such a good player, and I had really hoped, we talked about it on the chaps, that in the post Selwood era, we had sort of earmarked Cam Guthrie as being that next like big midfield leader. He was that player we thought would go on and be averaging the 26, 27 touches per game kind of numbers. And I really do think it's only injury that stopped that happening, because he's so good. He was so good at his best.
Jake, I think conversely, you said, I think if he gets back in the VFL side and plays a couple of games consecutively, do you think that's going to be enough for Chris Scott and the coaches to say, let's bring him into the ones? Do you think he needs to demonstrate 4 or 5 weeks of good footy without getting injured, or are they just going to put faith in the guy and bring him straight in if there's a chance to?
I think he'll have to demonstrate it. He'd have to demonstrate it, because you can't risk, like, if it's at the pointy end of the season, I don't think you could risk just putting him in. I think he had. I think that they were even so cautious with him in the VFL. Like, he wasn't playing. Like, Jack Martin came in and I think he played one half of a game, and then from there on out they played him all 4 quarters. Guthrie was not that way at all. Like, he played a half of footy, he played 3/4 of a game of footy. He played some managed minutes. Like, they were still managing him through 4 quarters of VFL footy, where the speed and intensity isn't anything like it is at AFL level. So I don't know. I sort of feel like he would need to at least get to a point where they're like, no, we're comfortable him not having like managed minutes in a VFL game. Where they might choose to manage him because they can, but they know that if he actually needed to play the 4 quarters, he could. Like, I just because of his history, I don't see how you can sort of gamble with it. It's such a likelihood to happen.
Let's hope not.
Pretty much. It does feel like it's almost a Jack Martin style thing, where you build him up, you build him up, you build him up, you play the long game, and then you hope that everything goes right when he finally arrives. This was a photo that I think Jackie put up. Shadu had put up in the Discord today from Cam at training. So getting there. He's running. He didn't injure himself in this photo, so we're going places.
5 frames ahead of that photo, he's on the ground.
Yeah.
Achilles.
Poor bloke.
I was going to say, that's why they didn't put up the video.
Yeah. Catch a really good angle where he's falling, but it looks like he's running.
Yeah. He's Peter Griffin with a bit of a at the end of it. So the other half of I wouldn't say half, the other 15th of Max Wellian's questions, Ollie Henry getting back in the team, Jack Martin, do those two hold on to or get back into the 23?
For me, I'd say Ollie Henry does, just purely based on, like Jake was talking, the credits banked before. Like, I don't think he's necessarily got the body of work this year to indicate it, but I do think they're demonstrating a lot of faith in him. And the fact that they did put him on as sub and he came out with a bit of fire in his gut, he didn't really like turn the game around, but he demonstrated a will to get involved. I think we'll definitely see him again. My feeling on Jack Martin is that he's like, I would assume he's just going to be a patchwork job. If enough players are out, he'll wander back in again.
Yeah.
I think Ollie Henry stays in the side this weekend against Richmond, because it's Richmond and it's another good game for him to get his confidence back in. And yeah, I think I'm the same with Martin, with Sam, about just being there when we don't have that player, and he's just going to come in to fill that hole, that void. And I think he's been doing that well enough. But if we go to full strength, he's not making the cut at the moment for finals.
Yeah, it's fair.
And
And we
don't
had
cut
one
his
final
hair.
question. Oh, sorry, Ben.
Sorry, I was going to say Cam Guthrie cannot cut his hair. I think he should do. It's all gone back. I think he trimmed it again the second time, and he's got injured again. So it's starting to grow back now. So keep going, Paul.
You can see the magic starting to form on the back of his,
Coming back.
head there. Like the powers are coming back.
Definitely.
The final question here in terms of Twitter was from Premiers. Just kind of questioning Danger's role in the forward line. So Danger's role in the forward line, hindering others, ? Positive for the team, ? Thanks. No, thank you, Premiers.
No.
Put it into the question and no. Oh.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's one of those things where I think I have even questioned it, and Paul, you were saying you had as well, of like how like it just must affect things a little bit, like not necessarily badly, but obviously it affects the game having a player there or not having a player there. I think it maybe looks more like extreme because of some other stuff. I think Cameron was a little bit disrupted by it, but I think he was also in some really bad form and unable to play himself back into it. I don't think that means Dangerfield comes back in and Cameron immediately goes back to playing how he was. I think it's more complex. I think Danger's such an absolute unit. I think him out there doing what he does is only ever a benefit to the side. I think what we can do is play better around him. If he's there smashing packs and just bringing the ball to ground and making things messy in the forward line, then we need those other guys putting on that tackling pressure, putting on that ground ball work to like make something of that. Because there does seem to be a little bit of a sense sometimes of, Danger's there, he'll figure it out. And so people sort of like just watch and go like, what's going to happen here? So I think it's more about the others being able to get in and continue to do their work around him.
I'll just say on
thank you, Glenn.
Much appreciated.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Legend.
Glenn,
Are we honorary chaps,
absolute
by the way? Or are you
legend.
talking about the
I think this is more the general chat.
You guys are
sense.
we're all,
No, Glenn, thank you.
We're all
Really
chaps
cogent
here.
point there, which is, thank you to the chaps for coming in and fixing up this shit show. Because if it was,
Yeah,
if it was
thanks
just
to
right, it would've been
you guys
a
there.
disaster. So, great, thanks, mate. I like little back
Checks in the mail, Glenn.
crack there.
Send the $12 check in the mail.
50% discount at Still Cook for Glenn.
Yeah, we've just decided that.
just on the Cameron thing and the Danger thing, I was just thinking about this, with the stint that Danger's had on the sidelines. And I just wonder, like, I watch a lot of American football, and sometimes, when you've got a young quarterback starting out their career, they play, say, a month of football, and then they might get injured or they might have a really rough start. And then they get a little stint, a couple of weeks on the sideline, and they then get to watch the rest of the team go about it. They get to watch that other quarterback go in and do the job. And then when they get their chance again, it's changed their whole perspective on how they see the game and how they see their role within the system. I just wonder with Danger, you have this red hot start to the season, you're in form, but Jez is a bit out of, off kilter. Ollie Henry's a bit off. Maybe Neil's not playing as well as you might hope. Danger goes out for that handful of weeks and gets to see it from that sideline point of view where he's not in it. He's not in the mix. And so suddenly I wonder if it's just an opportunity for him, like an experienced player, but new to being a forward. Like he can watch that game from a different angle and go, oh, okay, I can sort of see what Jezza wants to do here. I can sort of see what, Henry or Neil or whoever wants to do here. Maybe I can choose my moments a bit better where I go to that leading space. Do I crash that pack there? Or do I stay down because I know Jez is going to go up for that mark? I'm interested to see the last 2 months of the season and whether or not we see a change in dynamic because we love Danger and the fact that he goes for everything. He smashes every pack. But I'm just interested to see if he can apply a bit of experience and finesse to the role now and go, oh, actually, I'm now in its, show a bit of restraint and a bit of craft about it and just step back at times. Know your moment.
That's a really good comment, Jake. I think that it is interesting, like to having that opportunity to sort of look at it. What's going well? Where am I screwing everyone else up? And Ollie Henry, just figure it out on your own. That's up to you, Ollie. But in terms of Scratcher and Jezza, Danger hopefully has had a bit of a look at things and how he can help, especially Shannon Neal. Jez is smart enough to find kick goals anyway, but Shannon's still kind of learning his craft and figuring out where he fits. A bit like sort of Nathan Ablett for 2007, a fair bit, just trying to figure out how to not get in Cam Mooney's way for a chunk of that season. That's an interesting one. Thank you. Paul, was that the last one from the Twitterverse?
That was the last one from the Twitterverse. So I know you've pinned a few comments over the course of the night. Let's throw them that way.
Beautiful. No worries. I'll click the first one from Oscar. Says, do you agree De Koning is a little overrated since his first year? I feel like he had been inconsistent and shaky in one-on-one contests. Jake, you mentioned, I can't remember which player you were talking about, Zach Guthrie, giving him more responsibility. And I think that's happening a bit with Sam De Koning as well. And maybe he's not the second or the third defender now, and a lot more responsibility on his shoulders and putting himself in some situations where maybe he's looking a little bit sillier at times or making the odd mistake because of that responsibility. Any thoughts on him?
It's hard, isn't it? Because he started the season as a ruckman. And Chris Scott repeatedly said during the season, that's where we're going to play him. We see him as a ruck. And then, of course, the moment Chris Scott says that, he hasn't played in the ruck since, which is like that's quintessential Chris Scott, essentially. But like, so, like still a young-ish player. And, we're always looking back on his 2022 as being like the peak of his career, because it was, statistically, you look at it, it was the peak of his career. But we won a flag that year. And yes, he contributed, but you also look at the form that some of those other guys, were playing in as well. And I think it was you, Sambo, who made the point of it's the order of operations that sometimes brings the criticism on Sam De Koning, because he started so fucking hot to his career. Everything else looks like a failure in the shadow of that. Whereas if it was the opposite, if he was still building to that 2022 flag season, if that was around the corner, we would be over the moon with how this, this key post player is tracking. I think we'd be talking more about, and he gives us, multiple options. Not only is he a great key back, we've also seen he can pinch hit for us in the ruck. Imagine when he reaches his ceiling. It just so happens we tend to think that his ceiling happened three and a half years ago. But look, I don't think you could make a case that he's not playing, worse this season than he was in 2022. But I think it'd be hard to pick any Geelong player this year that you could say they've had a flawless season. I really do. I don't think there's many guys out there you go, oh yeah, he's been flawless.
To be fair, it was just earlier this month
like
where
they're few and far between.
It was only this month where Sam De Koning was, and look, whatever those rankings, the rankings can kind of mean nothing, but he was ranked in the top 5 key defenders in the competition only 2 or 3 weeks ago, up to that point. So, and again, that doesn't factor in the eye test. That's just a bunch of data that gets you there, but the data does paint something of a picture. So,
and he's probably suffered a little bit from the fact that he's been out when Tom Stewart was in, and then he was in when Tom Stewart was out, and like the whole back line looks better with Tom Stewart in there. So he hasn't necessarily benefited as much from like, oh, look how well they're playing.
I think definitely for me, I wasn't expecting STK to back up 2022 in 23, 24, 25. I was like, this is a really good year. And how many times have we seen young guys play an outstanding first year and then drop way off in the next year? So I was fully expecting it. So for me, the way he's playing now, I still think he's playing really good football and getting back to 2022. It's just getting that sulky,
Yes.
whiny part out of his game. Once he gets that out of his game, he's going to be awesome.
We judge him a little bit harshly for that. John, I'm going to stay with you for this one.
Can
Morris,
I just quick?
Oh, sorry, Jake. Jump in. No, jump in. Sorry, I'm too quick.
I was just going to say, just quickly. Sam De Koning is averaging career high marks per game, 5.36. That's a tick better than what he did in 2022. He's averaging career high in disposals as well. So, as much as our eye tells us one thing, stats tell us another. The truth's probably somewhere in the middle.
He's probably kicked more goals than he ever has too, I'm guessing. So I know he's a couple of times. He would have a couple, 2 or 3 goals this year, wouldn't he? From memory? Pretty sure he has. Anyway, I'll do the research on that while I
that
on the next question.
rings a bell.
John, Oisin Mullen looks like he's adding some strings to his bow. Seems to pick a target, hit more often, getting more clearances. Firstly, I agree, Morris. I think he was a bit of a whipping boy at the start of the year, but he's really finding things at the moment. How are you seeing Oisin develop, John?
Yeah, really loving it. I was really excited when the Cats got him. Jake, again, got a lot of information from Jake when we first drafted him, and then while he was playing the VFL, Jake said he's going to be a good player. He's got the speed, and we've seen that absolute dash of speed he has got, that he can really dash away from people. But yeah, Morris is absolutely correct. He is adding those strings. Like, he's getting a few more clearances when he gets the opportunity to, and he's hitting targets a bit more often than not. So yeah, he's slowly improving his skills, and got to remember, he's still playing AFL. Basically, it's still a brand new game to him. He grew up playing Gaelic football. It's not like every other young teen in Australia grows up playing AFL. He played a different game growing up. So what he's been able to achieve so far in such a short time, I think, is still pretty remarkable. So yeah, I think he's still going to make a really great player, doing really great tagging, as people have said. And yeah, that clearance, hitting up targets, the speed, it's all coming together really nicely.
Just needs to kick a goal so we can sing along to the song, the rolling bog or whatever it's called.
His goal kicking hasn't improved yet.
He had a chance. He had a good chance a few weeks back, but I thought that was going to be the one. But
absolutely botched that kick from my memory.
Oh yeah.
Anyone else got thoughts on Oisin?
A little stat I like about Oisin Mullen is his marks. So he's gone from 1.9 last season to 3.4 this year. Like, that to me speaks to, and you used to see this at VFL level. When he popped down to VFL level, he'd suddenly rack up 20 touches, 8 marks, and he was like, his understanding of how to get involved in the play was like, it was just improved when he dropped down a level. So that, to me, like, the fact he's basically doubled his marks per game this season at AFL level, he's sort of understanding a bit more how to spread away. He doesn't just tag. I think you're right, Morris. Like, as Johnny said, like, he is adding more strings to his bow, and sometimes marks is just something I look at to, like, do you understand how to get into space and pick up an easy touch? Good on you, Nick Dacos.
That's a pizza on any other night.
Yep.
And yes, chat, I am watching you. I am seeing the turtles, and you can all get fucked.
Oh, that's what those are. I was wondering what those green.
Oh yeah, no, the turtle emojis. You've been missing.
John's on too much endo to know what they are.
No, I'm up to date with the turtle stuff. The TMNT poll.
Oh, why aren't you the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guy? Fuck.
Ironically, like, as kids, John, Jake, and I were all obsessed with Ninja Turtles. We met playing Ninja Turtles in the driveway, and yet none of us stopped.
Going off with the turtle emojis.
Meanwhile, I'm the one that's wearing t-shirts and having to, hoping that we get, well, not really hoping that we get to 50 patrons, because I'll have to wear some fucking pajamas too.
I can't believe you didn't bring it out for the review special, Paul.
I welcome.
This is good one for the chat. Who was
I welcome
Sam,
being the Ninja
Jake's,
Turtle boys.
and mine's favourite turtles?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Which one did we go with?
Characters or just Ninja Turtles?
Such a good Rorschach test.
Just the turtles.
John's was
Out of the four,
Donatello.
which
Sambo's was Raphael. I don't know.
Yeah, nailed it. Nailed it there. I think John
Yes.
flip-flopped a little bit, but I think Mikey was probably a little more than Donatello, right, John?
Yeah, it's Mikey.
Yeah.
I still keep old mate handy. He's always here when need be.
There he
When
is.
time
There he
arrives,
is.
he's there.
yes.
And I think
Jake.
I think it's a surprise to no one who's Jake
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Just from the dynamic of the three of us. I think you can figure it out.
April O'Neil.
Close.
April.
Yeah, April. Yeah.
Casey Jones, maybe. You got a bit of Casey Jones going about you tonight. You might pay you that one. All right. I'm going to throw this one at Sam because, guess why? Because it's from Sam. Not a different Sam. Sam Wathen. Sorry, Sam. How are we going to win the granny this year rather than just making a prelims? Does Scott have a plan to beat the best teams in the comp rather than just compete? So, yeah, probably making a comment that we've made several prelims over the years. Unfortunately, only 4 premierships to show for it. Still pretty good.
Can we take a moment to appreciate those prelims though? Let's just take a moment to go.
How many?
There's plenty of teams that would sell a kidney for a prelim. So it's a nice problem to have. Look, I think it's all pretty evidence based this year in terms of. Now I don't know. I haven't looked at the ladder. We're talking about the premiership window before and the ladder of sort of the top 9 teams. But previous to the Brisbane game, when you only counted results against the top 9 teams, Cats were number 1. So I think that's something that we've all got to keep in our back pocket a little bit this year. That like we've had some losses. We may have some more weird losses this year, but we've demonstrated our ability to negate what some of the best teams can do. I think it's hard to look past the Brisbane game because it's so fresh, but I do think that's the outlier. I think the opposite is the case. And there's a lot that we've discussed tonight that I think goes towards that. It's the Dash brothers. It's also what Paul was talking about before with the defensive combined with the offensive midfielders and the way we're able to negate. And I think the thing we didn't mention then about the ability to use our midfielders and like Atkins and such defensively to then release Holmes and Smith. I think that does work perfectly with the fact that we don't really have a dominant ruck. Like I think that is helping to cover for that a little bit, that we don't necessarily rely on winning the hit out and winning that hit out to advantage every time, which is a bit of a hallmark of Geelong for a few years, that we've had to sort of cobble together a game plan based on the fact that we might not win the hit out.
Can I just say, Reece Stanley, if you're watching, you dominate my dreams. You might dominate the ruck, but you definitely dominate my dreams.
Talking about tables lifting a few inches again, Ben.
Careless
and
whispers.
it's absolutely no shade against Reece Stanley. I was about to say that in spite of it all, I think we have actually won more than we probably need to win in the hit outs this year. But I do think that is a real strength that we've added, talking about adding strings to the bow. Our ability to actually dominate teams going forwards from midfield, but also frustrate them around the middle. Even if they win the hit out, it's generally our structure when we're on that gets us through. I really think that it doesn't faze me. I don't know about you lads, but it doesn't faze me a whole lot. Coming against the best in the finals, I think this is. If we get to the finals, it's not based on luck. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if we get to the finals. I mean, if we get to the prelims, if we get through to the pointy end, it's based on real evidence this year. Whereas some of the prelims that we've made, maybe in the past, has just been based on the fact that we've had some weapons and just been able to sort of cruise through.
We're really starting to hit late night post game live and Paul James territory now.
We've gone over the 2-hour mark, and we're all turning into gremlins.
Where's Lucas? He'll be here with his shirt off soon.
Definitely. Let's get through the last couple of questions.
Don't get us too excited.
All right, Paul, I'm going to throw this one at you now. This is from. Have we had one from Morris? I think we have had another one from Morris. Anyway, that's okay. Morris asked another question. Is there a forward or defender you would clone to play down back and up forward at the same time in this team? Good question.
Connor O'Sullivan.
Really? What a
Get a clone of him, send him down the
Started
forward
as a
line.
forward.
Well, that's true. Yeah, so he's got the chops already. So let's just have two of them and stick one at either end. We've got ourselves a Henry situation.
How good's his run been lately? Like last few weeks, his like want to like dash has been really nice.
Can we get a Blitzarves on the other wing? That'd be nice.
Can we just get Blitzarves everywhere?
Yeah, let's just have
a team.
23 Mark Blitzarves.
It's just like some battle simulation type stuff. 23 Mark Blitzarves versus the rest of the comp.
Versus a gorilla.
That's one for AFL 27 when that rolls out. Just pick all Blitzarves. Any other ones from anyone else on that one?
Mark Blitzarves cloning is what's happening in Reece Stanley's shed.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's happening on the back.
The underground bunker.
You got to go down about 30 floors into the bedrock.
Past Ben rolling around in the hay, as we discussed before.
Very good. Any other suggestions on that one?
No, look, I think that's a strong call. I don't want to muddy the waters with other ones. I'm willing to back O'Sullivan.
Beautiful. All right. Now this isn't about Jake Botel, unless you are planning to retire, Jake. I think it's about Special K.
Jake's taking that $10 donation and running.
$10, and well, we're splitting it 5 ways, Jake. So there's $2 each, and YouTube takes a slice as well. Jake Kolodjasny or Dashney. How the hell do I say it? I don't know.
Collar.
Is Collar going to play on next year, or is he going to head off to Tassie in a few years? Is he done?
Oh, you're asking
I'll let you
me.
answer that.
I was just trying to look up how old. I was trying to look how old he is. So he's no, he's not going to retire. He's 29. He'll be 30 in August. I don't think he's retiring. Yeah,
baby still.
He'll play on. I think he when Tassie coming into the league, did we say
27? Well, assuming they can get a stadium with a roof, that is.
Yeah, I think he's the perfect candidate for a player that I reckon by that stage Geelong might feel like they've got enough depth at the position to cover. I mean, this year's been a good little test run with Connor O'Sullivan playing down there. They've brought in other play. We just talked about Keaton Matafai-Forbes being converted to play down back. They're going to be looking at a player like Killian Burke, like he's playing up forward now. Could they see a world where he's a big, strong-bodied bloke to go and play down back? I think Kolodjasny will play on this year, but I reckon he'd be the perfect sort of candidate where if Geelong can only protect so many players, Jake Kolodjasny won't be one of those players. And Jake Kolodjasny being a Launceston-born player, I reckon this is my little bet. I will say here and now, Jake Kolodjasny will tog out for the new Tassie club.
Thank you to
Take
Sports
that money and run.
This segment of the show.
I'll also just throw out there the old rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated when it comes to Jake Kolodjasny. The idea that we need to flip him at this point, or I mean, obviously, Tassie coming along, that's a whole other beast. But he's since 2016, he only played 9 games before that, but he's played a minimum of 17 games in the season. And one of the 17-game season was 2020, which was obviously a heavily compromised year. So he's had one bad year with injury. And it's been quite a few consecutive things in that year, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Give him another 4 years, I reckon. Now, another one from Roaming before we finish up with Roaming, because he's gone a bit like Max. He's just throwing the questions at us. And there's a few more minutes, everyone, if you've got another question or so. What games do you think Jed Hughes will come back in? If he comes back in, I guess. Who wants to take this one?
Bring him back in now.
I was going to say, I feel like Paul's well positioned to take this
Paul's
one.
desk lifts for Jed Hughes for sure.
Now for all the games.
I just setting aside the sexual side to the whole thing. I just think he brings something to that defensive unit that the others don't have. I mean, in part it's his size, but it's that rebound and aggression that we discussed earlier. It's the ability to completely shut some of those live wire forwards out of the game. And I just don't think the others have that to the same degree, like that same combination of skills. So I think he's really, really important. I'd like to see him back ASAP. Now, if part of this is a management thing and looking after the body and making sure he's where he needs to be at the end of the season, which ultimately is what happened last year. What did he come in with? 2-3 games to go in 2024, and then that was it. He was there till the end and performed quite well throughout the finals. Then if that's part of the thinking, sure, I can embrace that. I'd love for them to say that, but they won't. I'm really bullish about Jed Hughes and his importance to that defensive unit. I just think he offers something that the others don't have. They're all interceptors. They're all, mid to tall, that he's the right foil for them.
I think he really has that because of his
17
instincts and his the way he wants to run with it and the swashbuckling nature that Jake coined. I think that's puts him in really good stead to kind of stop some of those creative forwards because it kind of feels a little bit like he's in their head. It's like, that's what I would do. So that's what I'm going to stop.
Beautiful.
Don't you think that they're sort of building O'Shane Mullen, like he could go down a Busian route? Like the fact that he played on Charlie Cameron against the Lions. Like, I don't think they only see Mullen. Like Mullen, I think if he really does grow into his footy sense and his footy smarts, could absolutely play out of the back line or off half back. Like if he grows out of being a tagger, which I think he can, I think he's got the skill. He's obviously got the athletic ability to do it. I think he would rank as amongst the strongest and fastest AFL athletes if you're just looking at athletic traits. But I think his kicking ability and all that sort of thing, like I think he could become a weapon for the Cats outside of just being a shutdown man. To me, it's going to be a waste if all O'Shane Mullen does is he ever does his tag. I think there's so much more for him to do. But, I agree. I think Buse can still offer something. Averaging 6 marks a game in his 3 matches this year. And I think higher than his career average in disposals as well. So, yeah, I'd prefer to have Jed Buse on the list than not have him on the list, headed for a deep finals campaign.
I think so. All right, let's push through the last couple real quick. Spartacus and anyone... Sorry, everyone who's asking these ones. I'm just conscious it's gone over 2 hours now. How likely are we to get Harley Reid? I'm in WA and there are rumours that he could go to Hawthorn for more money. I hope it's bullshit. I'll add the shit part. I'm going to start off by saying Harley Reid is a future Cat. It's happening. It's just a matter of when and in what order. Which do we get, Zach Butters first or Harley Reid first? So
I'd say we'll get Harley Reid first. I think it's looking like it's going to be done, hopefully. Big solid farm. Just be Cats fan.
Yep.
Take him to the farm.
Take him to the farm.
Take him to the farm. Stop him being such a whiny little bitch.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. But let's not forget Paul gave Bailey Smith heaps of shit all last year too. Let's not.
You never seen a hypocrite before?
Something. Yeah, well, I do look in the mirror.
At 3 right now. Like you're looking at 5 of this right now.
No, I'm all for. I mean, I guess I've done dedicated videos on all these, players that have been kind of somehow linked to the club. But obviously, yeah, Hawthorn has been attached to him, and he's been attached to Hawthorn ever since the Sam Mitchell meetup. But I don't necessarily, because there was that conversation that went on at a party or something. It wasn't, there was the other meetup that Sam Mitchell had with what's his name, old mate, who's now heading Brisbane way. Oh. But yeah, I don't think Harley Reid being a Cat supporter as a kid, and you see all these clips, and he still reflects so fondly upon all these Cats players that he watched as a kid. I don't think in his heart he could ever stand the idea of possibly donning the poos and wees. So
we all know the only reason it's a story, all these Sam Mitchell meetups, is because it's an absolute celebration whenever Sam can tie his shoes and get out the front door.
Very true. Very true.
Cannot stand him.
Glenn.
I've only just seen Spartacus' comment that's been on the screen. Jesus Christ.
Tenacious D thing, if anyone knows that what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
Cock push-ups. All right. Glenn asked the question, my last question. Did you ask another? I think you did ask another one.
Probably
before.
has.
It's gone somewhere. Why is it in the games we lose, it seems teams can fly through the centre of the ground without being touched? What falls off the defensive structure? I'm going to ask the chaps to tack this one because I know you guys, sorry, Paul, but I know you guys have talked about it, this kind of thing before, where I guess it's what our game style is, sort of certain things we are happy to accept or not happy to accept, but it's a consequence of the way we play.
Willing to accept it.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up. If someone want to jump in.
It's the structure. Basically,
that's all you need to say. Structure. You said it. You've got the answer in your question. Structure.
Yeah, structure. Yeah, it's just that, and I think we mentioned it earlier. Sort of that like defensive idea of playing that ultra defensive role is we're sort of letting the other teams get the ball first, and then we're going to tackle them, get it off them. And if that's not 100% perfect, then they're going to handball around us pretty easily. And that's the other thing that Cats are fairly weak to is opposition's handball game. Like Cats like to intercept. They like to get the intercept marks, intercept possessions, and go from there and then get them on their counter. And when teams use their handballs against us, then they can get around us a lot easier than what they do with their feet. And also when they get us on the counter, where we've got a lot of our players already pushing up forward to
You're already
attack.
behind the ball.
We're already behind the ball, and then they're at the back really easily, and then we're out of position pretty much straight away.
Yeah, the assumption is that we're about to win it and get the ball forward, and everyone has to move before that happens. And so if you do that, and then the assumption was wrong, and we do not gain the possession and get the disposal off, then you're wrong-footed. And I think it depends on the handball game too. Like, because if you look at I think the Bulldogs was a great example of both. It was how well we can defend a handball game, and then the second half was how well a handball game can tear us apart. Which and it can be hard to shift that, because to shout them out again, if you look at the first use video on the Cats' defensive structure off the ball when the Bulldogs were attempting to hand pass straight forward, just move forward the whole time, and hand pass over the top. The Cats' ability to peel off, share the load of who was on which player, who was following who was intercepting, who was tackling, and they were doing it before, like the split second before the handball was done. They were peeling off. You know, player one runs to lay the tackle, the other player then follows the opposition that player was just on. And we were doing it absolutely phenomenally because we were so confident in their game plan, and you could do it before the Bulldogs had done it. Then when the Bulldogs shifted it and they started handballing backwards or laterally, you could see that it took us a whole sort of, 25 minutes to realize that the game, how significantly their game style had changed. That you've kind of got to change the whole, our whole defensive structure and instinct along with it, because you can't kind of, like, the game's so fast now, you can't just react defensive, like from a defensive point of view. You can't just see it and do it. You kind of need to know the variables of what this team might be about to do, what this player might be about to do, so you can make a call and run. And that's when we see bad Cats games, it's generally because we've been forced to resort to instinct, to go to reactionary play, where and then you'll see two players run at the same player that has the ball. They pop a hand pass over the top, and there's a free jumper out the back, when we're just kind of, the effort and the will and the intensity is there, but it's loose. It's not based on any kind of pre-planned structure.
I'd just say too that a big part of that question from Glenn is, like, when we lose, why do teams always go? Why are they streaming through the middle and carving us up? Because they have to. That's like their only avenue. Because if you do something else, we will fuck your shit up. That's the problem with playing Geelong. If you go slow, if you go around the wing, if you do all these things, you have to be brave. And this is why I give massive credit to anyone who beats Chris Scott's Geelong, because you are playing against the best coach in the league. and you're playing against probably the most disciplined team in the league who all know their role. It is so rare to see this Geelong team flustered. It's why Brisbane's game was so fucking impressive, and why they did such a good job beating us, because it is, you can almost count on one hand the amount of times in the last 2 years that you would have seen Geelong look that bad. They're a brilliant team. And so you have to go. You have to go at speed. You have to go bravely. And going bravely and at speed here is the smart thing, because it is dumb. It is certifiably stupid to do anything else. Like you saw with Essendon. The one time in the game where they opened us up and looked competitive, they went fast by hand and they ran at us. And that can still come unstuck if our pressure game pays off in the middle of the ground. You are still taking a risk. But you are falling on your sword and slicing open your own belly if you move the ball slowly against Geelong. So you have to. That is why you see it in games we lose, because they have to. That is their avenue to felling the beast.
I think you're right in what you're saying there about like the way to score against Geelong. The other half of it is also the pressure that you bring towards the Cats. We've had, and this goes back decades now, like when an opposition brings the heat defensively, we can, I'm not going to say wilt, but like it can expose some of these weaknesses. Now, you look at that Brisbane game, and for as much as they did all of the right things that you just discussed, it began with them pressuring the kick, pressuring the handball, prompting the turnover, which allows you to go through the middle. And obviously we spoke about Grian earlier on. He kind of best, I guess, highlighted that night how to get the Cats, which is pressure the execution. And if they miss a target, that gives you the opportunity to, surge the ball the other way. Because when Geelong can deliver that ball inside 50 with potency, we are one of the leading teams in the competition for tackles inside 50, marks inside 50, retaining the ball up that end of the ground. And the only way typically you're going to get the ball out of there is you've dumped a kick out, it lands on a teammate's chest, and then you're kind of already in the midst of a slow play, which Geelong can then set up for. It's when you can actually slingshot the ball out the other way where you've got yourself a chance. So if Geelong can just get that ball inside 50, they've almost won the battle already. So you need to be able to pressure the ball, ensure that they're not hitting targets easily. It's such an easy, like on paper, it's such an easy way to beat the Cats. The execution is the thing that so many teams struggle with.
Great comments, guys.
Bang on.
Last question for the night, and don't ask any more questions. Oh, here we go. One more from Morris. I'll finish. I'll finish with. So you can answer Morris's one if you like, but I'll finish with Shadu on the screen here. So Scotty to Tassie at the end of the season. What's everyone's feeling? Now we're talking about Scotty the coach, or Scotty who pops into Postgame Live every now and then?
We'll send him after the. We'll send him
Well, he's taking the coaching job, I've heard.
I've seen as
he's got Bossie's job actually.
Chris got me though.
But he's still contracted till next year, so he's staying.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't see him going anyway.
They would have to pay the Cats a fair chunk of money to get him to break his contract a year early.
Not going to happen.
No.
PGA. I
love Scotty.
I think they've got internet in Tasmania. I think they do. So we might not fully get rid of him, but Roaming. I'm going to address Roaming's comment because he's been wanting. Roaming's wanting me to to come to this.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Where are we? Paul, you're probably onto it.
What are we looking for?
Roaming. Oh, it's not coming. It's not. Anyway, Roaming Q&A. There it is.
Ben is mid.
Yes, I did suggest, and I kind of touched on this earlier, Roaming, that yes, in the heat of the moment, after probably a GWS loss earlier in the year, I did pretty much pull the curtains on Geelong season. I'm pretty sure I did it last year too, and we were kick away from a granny. I didn't say we were shot, but I did say that I felt like we were probably mid-table, and I retract those comments. I feel like we're a top 4 team, but I'm loath to actually get too optimistic because it's almost, do we get superstitious about these things? Maybe we do.
Only about Max Holmes' hamstrings.
Max Holmes' hamstrings and
Jesus Christ!
What did you? We've already said it. Like it's already done. So.
Do we now need to mention it 3 times though? Is that how we cancel it out? I feel like 2 is a weird number.
Yes. Max Holmes' hamstrings. That's the third.
Do a
Oh, thank
hamstring. Oh, he better not do another one. Anyway,
That's 4 now.
If
Put
he
him
does,
on
we're
ice.
playing
Put
Paul.
him on ice in the second half.
I was completely
Cairns
wrong,
went
Roman.
down.
Thank you for that. And remind me again when we win the premiership. And Danger is another
we will.
premiership captain and all that. So I'm sure we all get the occasional things wrong now and then. Don't answer a question. I can just Google. Sorry.
That's in reference to the Zach Butters being a Cats fan. No, he's a Bulldogs fan.
Bulldogs fan, unfortunately. Anything else, boys, before we start to wind things up for another mid-season review episode?
No, only to say thanks for all your efforts, Ben, to put it together and get us rolling.
Ben.
No worries. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone in the chat. It's always, as we say, on all these live shows that we do, the chat is absolutely fantastic. And it makes it, I know Paul feels the same. It's kind of what keeps us going, this kind of stuff, just the engagement with the chat. And thank you again to Glenn from before as well for the little donation. Nose beers for everyone. I don't know how far $10 goes, but we'll try.
Depends where you're shopping.
You might get a granule each.
True. We'll put it away for the end of the year, and we'll
After
see
the granny.
After
Considering
the granny.
how light of a weight I'm going to be, that'll be enough. One granule will send me to the moon.
Oh shit! All right, beautiful. Max Holmes needs to wear a mask in September. Yep, I know.
And an iron lung.
Yes, that's right. No one gets sick. No one get injured. Everyone stay healthy.
On each shrimp.
No one eats shrimp. Dangerfield, don't go too hard into a contest, Danger. Just ease up. And Jezza, don't kill yourself flying for marks, please.
Stanley, don't go anywhere near Ben. He might jump you.
Yeah.
Don't give Reece Stanley a heart attack.
No. No.
That's true. There's so much excitement he can handle.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you're still with us 2.5 hours in, and you've been watching from the start, you're an absolute legend. If you've joined us in the last 5 minutes, where the hell have you been? How dare you? No, just joking. But thank you for tuning in regardless. There's also a rewind button. You're welcome to go back to the beginning and watch it from scratch. We've enjoyed having you. I've had a lot of fun. As I said to Jake on SMS earlier today, these types of shows are my favourite ones. I look forward to them every year. Look forward to the season preview and the season wrap-up shows. And we'll probably do a Cargie Greaves medal count again, I'm assuming, maybe even a Brownlow count. So
well, you want me to do the live watch-along with a dodgy link that someone in the chat
sent? We'll figure that out this time. I don't think I'm going to the Cargie this year, so I might even do it with you, Paul, or anyone else that's welcome. We might even have an all-in kind of thing, anyone who wants to jump in and have a chat, something like that. Thank you very much. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Now, Jake,
Lucas has just joined. Sorry,
Lucas comes in late.
2.5 hours in. This is such fucking Lucas behaviour. Like, the show's been going 2.5 hours. It's about my time to shine.
Special occasion. I'll get you on for 30 seconds, Lucas. If you're still here in the wrap up, there's the link. Get your rig out.
I posted the link. Scotty's going to come piling in too.
Time to talk about cricket.
No, he's only got 30 seconds. Jake, are we doing a twos show or are we putting that on ice for another week? Is that a Wednesday thing or have you got something saving in it for the following week when the twos have had their bye and come back and got some footy to talk about?
Yeah, I've already done. Look, I love you guys. You're absolutely amazing. But honestly, this week I couldn't muster the give a shit to do an extra twos episode.
Just done 2.5 hours.
There is. I did a mid. Yeah. I did. There is a mid-season review pod that I did that was actually the halfway mark for the VFL team. It's on Patreon. I'll actually go and make that available, like free to watch. So you can go get stuck into that. Would love for you to go check it out. I'll do that, tonight. I'll just make that free on Patreon. So, thanks, Morris. I'll be back next week.
Oh, here he is. He's welcome.
Hide your eyes.
How we doing, fellas? How we doing?
Good. Put you on the big
Sorry,
better now.
Sorry, I was late. I was watching South Africa and Zimbabwe, the test match, and I was doing a review on my own YouTube show. So sorry that I'm late. Better late than never. But I'm here now. Looks like I missed the party, but the party doesn't end until I get here. So big week for me. I was in the casino the other day. Ben, you saw that on my Instagram.
What old
managed
Dutch
to
bouncing around for that one.
Yeah, you should have seen me on the dance floor. Went to the pokies, had a massive win. Went in with $10, left with $10.40. So that's a massive win of 40 cents. So it's been a fantastic week for me. Australia winning against West Indies. Unfortunately, they had to win while I was fucking asleep. So that's bad for them. I'm not happy with that because I don't watch replay. So fuck them for that. But we are proud. We are strong. And Geelong, we got this week. Fuck, I don't even know. Richmond. We got Richmond. We'll smash them by 80 points. We'll smash them by 80 points. They're nobodies. Their whole history is based in 3 years. 2000.
We'll win by 80 points, and you'll also tell us to drop what's his name, Jezza to the seconds as well.
Keep the scarf on.
Well,
hide your shame.
Well, if it helps, I actually just got out of the shower, so I'm wearing actually nothing below but a towel.
He's Winnie the Pooh.
I'm a bit like Faf du Plessis coming out of a shower in South Africa with the David Warner and the cockfire. I'm just walking without a towel on. So we'll calm that down for the grand final stream where we smash whoever the hell we smash in the grand final.
We're streaming directly to OnlyFans.
Yep.
I'll be the shower in the prelim stream and the nude in the grand final stream. That's the one that works for me.
Very good, very good. All right, thank you, Lucas. We'll leave it there. Thank you for jumping on at the very end. We'll let everyone. We can finish that with some nice dreams tonight, Lucas. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll see you on the poll. He's gone. Someone's kicked him out. Very good. Thank you, everyone. Paul is back, hopefully, if he's up to it, on Thursday with the self-titled Paul James Show. He insisted that we call it that. I did try to fight him on it, but he insisted he would only do it if we called it the Paul James Show. I will be back on Saturday evening, I think, after the Richmond game for the post-game live. So make sure you tune into that one. That should be a bit of fun. Thank you, Lucas. The chaps look traumatized. I'm so sorry. That wasn't in the script. That wasn't in the show notes tonight. I just couldn't resist when he popped in.
Just traumatized we didn't see more.
Camera
just like anyone who sees more.
Jake, Johnny, Sambo, Paul, thank you very much for your time and effort tonight. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a long one, but it's been a fun one, and hopefully we'll do it again after a premiership at the end of the year.
It'll be good.
Thanks, lad.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Thank you. Thanks, chat.
Signing off from me. Go Cats, everyone.
Go Cats. Go Cats.
Take care.
Cats.
It's time for the show. Dropping pussy down facts, mitts, forwards and backs. Representing G-Town while talking the smack. Clashing facts like Patty, where the hell you at? Hoops crew are exploding, don't ever look back. Then we got Paul, yeah, he knows his stuff. He's a man, he's a myth, taking on the nuts. The man don't miss, he loves to react. His words cut deep, he's a counterattack. Paul's on fire, brings the mic to life. Don't fuck with B-Dog if you value your life. Oh, they fuck shit up, yeah, they run G-Town. The Hoops crew's here and they'll never back down. Jake, Johnny, Sambo, always rocking the game. Betty and Paul, man, remember the names. In the studio, Jake's bringing the noise. With Johnny and Sambo, the chaps, chat boys, feel electric. And they're ready to roll. The boys are on fire and they're taking control. recaps and previews, yeah, they cover it all. Part of the Hoops crew with Benny and Paul. They fuck shit up, yeah, they run G-Town. The Hoops crew, baby, they'll never back down. Jake, Johnny, Sambo, always rocking the game. Benny and Paul, chasing glory and fame. With the sleeves, Max Holmes and Jack Bowes. Tommy fucking Atkins, he'll break your damn nose. Stewie in the middle and Reese in the ruck. They see Big Jezza and they know they're fucked. They're the T-Town boys, go hard or go home. They're fucking insane, taking over the throne. Oh, they fuck shit up, yeah, they run T-Town. The Hoops crew